And you are watching another edition of Load Splits. Nania, you flew down this last weekend to watch the Jets get absolutely, well, not embarrassed, but just put out a terrible showing. Are you recovered yet, my friend?
I would say by now I have, but it took me a little bit, and there may be some lasting effects because I had gotten used to the past few years the idea that I could just fly up to New York, go see a Jets game, but going into this year, this was supposed to be the year where I could pick the Broncos game, the 1 p.m. Sunday home game against Bo Nix, and be like, you know what, that'll be a good time. This isn't going to be one of the marquee games of the year, the highlights, but it's just going to be a nice, fun time. No, that is not the case. It's no different than Tim Boyle last year, Trevor Siemian, Zach Wilson, no different. That's going to leave some scars for sure.
And I'll get to the housekeeping a little bit before that, but it to me, it makes it worse because like with those games, like you kind of expect it, like that was your excuse. We had nobody on offense and all this stuff. But when you have Aaron Rodgers, you're not expecting to score, 9 points. So many missed opportunities, so many penalties. Obviously, we'll talk about the coaching. We'll talk about Devante Adams. We'll talk about everything. Yeah, it's not supposed to happen. And even the run defense, we'll talk about the defense and stuff too. But like, talking about a rookie quarterback who literally couldn't, like, I was watching that game and like so many times in the first half, I'm like, thank God Bo Nix sucks, dude, because this team is like not doing great right now. And then they still average 4.5 yards per carry when before that, Javonte Williams was averaging like 2.2. And in the last drive, the last couple of drives, when you need the defense to step up, they don't, so like, I know people want to credit for the defense for only allowing 10 points, but I don't like you go back and watch that game and it's not like, oh, the defense played amazingly. Like, I don't think anybody really played great. And that's from Sherwood to Quincy to Q to Kinlaw. I don't think anybody really played good on the defensive side of the ball. Like Quincy made his plays. He had a forced fumble, but there's a few times like fitting the run at the end. He was just way too overzealous and not patient and getting into the wrong gap. Sherwood was okay. Tony Adams had, however many tackles and stuff, but all around just piss poor performance. Before I get into all of that, though, I do want to highlight Miguel. I have to find a specific. Actually, I'll do one of these. We'll do a whoop-off for a new member. So I appreciate you joining, Miguel. Welcome to the family. I just put out, or actually, well, Nanya did it, but I recorded it. Put out a full review of this game, hour and 45 minutes, whatever it is, and I think an hour and 35 minutes of it is just me just eviscerating this team the entire time. So if you want to go and watch that, Miguel, now you can. If you're a YouTube member, you can go and check out those reviews. And you get the perks, you get the banners, you get the green name, all that stuff. So thank you to Miguel. And then there's also a 20-minute like free clip on there as well, which I just went back to today. Nani, I saw there was like almost 100 comments in there, so I got to respond to some people. So I appreciate the support for the videos and all that stuff. Nani just dropped a Cool Your Jets podcast, right, as well.
Yep.
And you were on with Connor on Flight Talk or New York Jets Flight Talk, so go check that out. We'll say hello to some people in the chat. I really like. I almost wish that I could bottle up my frustration from Sunday and Monday. If you do go back and watch the film episode, you could tell my voice was still gone, and that was yesterday on Wednesday. I was screaming at the Jets at the game. Nani flew up all the way from Carolina, stopped by the tailgate. He's all excited, watch the Jets hopefully wax Bo Nix, had to fly home. I cannot even imagine having to go to the airport, go through security, get onto a plane, get off the plane, wait for your Uber, do all that bullshit.
Not only did I have to go through security, but I was so wet that the security check wasn't like the automatic one that you walk through wasn't picking me up. So the guy's like, I got to pat you down. You want to do it right here? And I'm like, just do it. And you have to take your shoes off and walk around in your not bare feet with your socks. And my socks were soaked from the game. It was rock bottom, which is it's hard to find a new one with some of the things that we've witnessed. But that was
not wet in a good way after that game. Wet because we was, and realistically too, like, and I'm not even trying. And listen, like, people have to, and I'll excuse myself. I know it's not the best thing I do, but during the game and after the game, I tend to have a few beverages at the game and I get very, very mad. So ignore my Twitter for like the 12 hours after the game because I go absolutely off the handle. I had to go back and delete some stuff. But there was some stuff I meant to, like in terms of, and I don't mean to like shit on Jets fans here, but when you walked into the environment of the game, like how'd you feel about the stadium and the lack of fullness there? Because I walked in and it was the same thing as week one. Like I looked up towards the upper decks in week one. I'm like, there's at least 2,000 to 5,000 empty seats here. And then in this game, the stadium was, and I get it was, listen, it was an aggressive drizzle. Like it was raining. It was not whipping wind. It was not a hurricane. I don't know if there was any wind. Like if there was wind, it was under 10 miles per hour. And the stadium was 75% full. So like I got in there. I was kind of like, what are we doing, Jets fans? Like we haven't had, a real opportunity like this in years. And honestly, I've been a little bit disappointed with the fans in showing up to the stadium or lack thereof.
Yeah, I would say I agree with that because I really thought that, even outside of the primetime games, which, recently last year, season opener, this year, it's been pretty great with the vibes at those games. But I thought this was the year where even regular Sundays, Jets fans are going to show out. Like you watch the Chiefs, the Bills, the Eagles, whatever. And like it could be any random home game and it's packed. The crowd is just deafening. But it wasn't really like that. And it wasn't bad, but there were a lot of Broncos fans near the Broncos sideline. It didn't look 100% full. By the end of the game, my row was like empty. So I had plenty of room to like run around and keep my blood flowing because I was starting to freeze a little bit because I was so drenched. But like it wasn't. And after this experience, I don't want to blame Jets fans too much because I don't know how eager I am to go to future games when I can't even trust that they're going to beat Bo Nix as 7.5-point favorites with Aaron Rodgers. But it is different for me because I don't live there. Like I would probably still go to nearly every game if I did live in the area. But, it's more so like the fact that I have to travel that far, put that much effort and money into going there and get that. So it's more so that why I'm a little more hesitant to go to games after that game. But I don't know. It didn't feel like the Jets had as much of a home field advantage as you would like them to. But, you also would like to see the team deliver on games they're supposed to deliver on before fans have the confidence to show up. So I see both sides of it.
Yeah, again, that's why I say, like, excuse me for those couple of hours because I was getting mad during the game and I was putting like Twitter finger Jets fans and all this shit. I was getting pissed, but Jan, we appreciate you for the super chat. I saw you for a minute on week 3 or whatever that was. You stopped by the tailgate, same old Jets. And we'll get into the chat. And again, I wish I could bottle up my anger, and I don't even know where to go with this game because there's so much bad from it. But in terms of the same old Jets, I guess I can kind of turn this to the coaching in this game, Nania. And again, there's so many things. I'm going to forget like off the top of my head here, but you have no Braelon Allen at the goal line on 1st and 2nd down. You have Gibson on one of the last drives on 3rd and 10. I think it was 3rd and 10 or 4th and 10. Get the ball thrown to him. He doesn't even stop for it. And there's another instance where he runs a vertical route. I think it was third or 4th and 10 again, when you have Mike Williams, a guy who is consistently, catching back shoulder balls and fade balls and all this stuff, but he's not in the game because, Xavier Gibson, who hasn't made a play since week 1 of 2023, has to be in the game in a clutch situation. So you have that. You have the team consistently not ready after extended breaks, bye weeks. Big games, the team does not show up, and that's a solid thing. You have them coming out after the game. I don't even listen to the interviews because I can't listen to them speak after games. I don't watch any Jet shit after the games, but especially when they lose or specifically when they lose. But you have Saleh like blaming the rain again and shit. It's like the weather was bad. Like it was an aggressive drizzle. Like it wasn't even raining. It was raining, but it wasn't whipping wind. Like it's more bad when it's whipping wind and raining than it is just like straight raining. So I don't think that's necessarily an excuse. The lack of calling people out, like just being friends with everybody. Like, oh, I don't need to call these guys out. They know they make mistakes. Well, do something else because what you've been doing for 4 years has not worked with the penalties. 15 penalties, 13 accepted. Just absolutely gross. You have Irv Charles with the roughness call. You have Tack McKinley, who hit the quarterback late, who should have been called for a penalty, but he didn't. You have Will McDonald lining up offsides twice. You have holdings. You have a bunch of you have Alan Lazard false starts. Like there was just so much bad. 4 for 17 on third down. You lost to a team that had -7 yards passing the ball in the first half, and then again in the second half they're starting to run the ball on you a little bit, and you don't run blitz. You don't blitz. You just leave the middle wide open. Like I get you don't want Bo Nix to scramble on you, but if they're starting to run the ball, then hey, let's do what we did versus the Pats and blitz, and we'll take our chances that Bo Nix is going to have to throw some dots on us. Like I think it was like the only receiver with over like 5 or 10 yards, whatever it was Cortland Sutton, and that was he had 60 yards, and like you got beat by Bo Nix passing the ball for 60 yards of Cortland Sutton, and the defense again it gets driven on when it matters, and they completely blew the coverage on Cortland Sutton. Like to me, watching that, it was definitely a Chuck Clark thing, but Tony Adams too just had no idea what he was doing. So the coaching was abysmal again, just not having this team ready to play after extended breaks and after big games. Like if this team's big win is beating a terrible fucking Patriots team, like what's going to happen if we actually beat the Bills or the Steelers or the Colts on? Like, is it going to be a thing where like we win one, lose one, win one, lose one because the team just gets so excited after beating the shitty Pats? Like, what are we doing here? Like I said, I thought it was gonna be different. And you can't string together, 2 games against three games in a row against terrible teams. Like it's impossible to ask you to beat the Broncos. I don't know. So, what do you think about the coaching? Again, there's a lot of directions we can go with the coaching, but off the top of my head, it's just gross.
Yeah, I think there's just a very complacent mindset with Saleh, and it's been exacerbated by getting Rodgers and accumulating some of the talent that they've accumulated, because it just feels like there's this sense that things are going to work themselves out, that they need time, and it's all going to come together at some point, more so than we need to change things and we need to make things happen versus just waiting for them to happen. But it's just such a faulty mindset in the NFL. When you look at Sam Darnold was supposed to be a backup quarterback, and he just got to Minnesota. And look at them. They're 4-0, scored more points in these 4 games than the Jets have probably ever have in our lifetimes. Jaden Daniels is a rookie quarterback who people don't even think you're supposed to play rookie quarterbacks anymore. That's probably the best offense in the league this year, if not one of the best. So teams all the time are just exploding out of nowhere, finding ways to make it happen when they're not supposed to. But the Jets, apparently, with a 4-time MVP quarterback and his best friend coordinator and all this, either Pro Bowl talent or projected Pro Bowl talent, they need the whole season to figure it out. Just give them time. Like they need reps. Like it's just very complacent with Saleh. And I'm not saying I want to see the extreme opposite, because I think it's also unproductive to be, too reactionary and, scream and flip tables and act like it's the end of the world after every bad performance, because that's just ignoring the fact that you're going to have more bad games. You're going to struggle more. So you can't get too low after every time that happens, but you do need to have a little bit more urgency. And through 4 years here, there's just always been a sense of like, it doesn't feel like they believe they need to make changes to make it better. They just think it's a matter of time. And it kind of clashes with Rodgers, because his mindset is in the right place. Every time I hear him talk and I see his body language on the field, it feels like he's not satisfied, that he understands what the issues are and wants to make changes to fix them. I think that moment against the Patriots, like I usually don't read into things like that too much, but it really did feel like that kind of sums up the difference in mentality here. Saleh sees one touchdown drive against the Patriots and he's losing his mind. And Rodgers is like, bro, like we scored 2 touchdowns in the first half against the Patriots. There's a lot of football left to be played. There's nothing, not that you shouldn't celebrate, but it just feels like that highlights a difference in mentality here between these two guys. So it is nice to at least you can feel confident that Rodgers is, the fact that he's there is going to fix some of this and bring some accountability and some discipline, but it also is hard to overcome the fact that there's still a head coach that doesn't seem to think the same way and really establishes this mindset of, we don't need to change. Just, I believe in you. We're going to fix this. But it hasn't changed too much in 4 years. And to go back to what you said, like going off the big wins and stuff like that, that's the biggest concern with this team, because with the talent they have, I do think they're going to win 9 or 10 games still. I still believe that is within their range, because I think they'll go out against Minnesota and put a good performance this week. I'm not saying they're going to win, but just because they had this one game against the Broncos, I think any week they're capable of going out and winning, because they have enough talent to do that. But can they win 5-6 games in a row like you need to pull ahead in the division and get past Buffalo? Can they win 3-4 games in a row in the playoffs to win a Super Bowl? That is the question, because anytime they do something good, whether it's beating the Bills in 2022, going into the bye, whether it's last year, you pull that 3-game winning streak out. Like they beat the Giants, but they got the big Eagles win. They played awful against the Giants, but it was Tommy DeVito. And then this year, you get your primetime win against the Patriots, and then go do that. Anytime they've some sort of momentum, it's like they're too satisfied, too complacent to build on it. So is this team capable of stringing wins together? I think they'll win more games. They'll have great performances, but can they overcome that solid complacency and have the drive to not be satisfied with one good game and make it 2, make it 3, make it 4? That is the question that they need to answer.
Yeah, like, are they going to celebrate winning a wild card game like it's the Super Bowl and then lose the next week and get completely blown out? Again, like if you're beating the Pats and you're celebrating about it, then I don't know. And like, I don't know if Saleh, he hypes these players up too much and stuff, because like, I don't know, man. Breece's mindset, and Breece has not been, and it's not just this game. Breece has had, and I said this on Twitter during the game, he's had one like really, really good play this year, and that was a catch versus the Titans. But past that, he really hasn't made much plays. Garrett Wilson had the one catch out. I forget all the individual games. I know 2 of them were against the Niners. The one he caught out of bounds when he had easily a yard or 2 to get his 1 foot in bounds. He had the illegal touching where he ran out of bounds, then caught the ball. Just a lack of focus on the details. He had another catch that he could have had in bounds. They ran out of bounds in one of the other games. He had the ball that hit him in the shoulder. He's not running routes great. Like I know people say like, and the stock answer is, oh well, he's getting double teamed. Yeah, he is. But also, if we're talking about a guy and we're talking about him in the light that he's a top 5, the top 10 receiver, you make plays when you get double teamed. And even when he's not getting double teamed, he's not running great routes. I'm sorry. Like, and I broke it down multiple weeks. His releases have not been good at the line of scrimmage, and he's bowing his routes out way too much and squeezing himself out of the play. So Garrett has to improve. Breece, the review I just did, he's not seeing the field well. He's just falling down into first contact. Like he's coming into contact and he's not even trying to like get under his legs. He's just lowering his shoulder, like kind of leaning at the waist and just falling into contact. Like Breece has not been good. And is Saleh like too soft on the goal line where, hey, like Braelon Allen is definitely the guy you want there over Breece, at least at this point in the season, but we don't want to hurt Breece's feelings. So we're going to put Braelon Allen in instead. Like what the hell are we doing? And then I do want to turn that into the whole comment with Rodgers or Saleh saying, oh, well, the cadence might be a problem, or whatever exactly he said. You've been practicing it all freaking summer. Your offensive line is veteran left tackle, veteran, semi-veteran left guard. Center's been fine. ABT, a veteran. Right tackle is a veteran. Alan Lazard has been here. Like we these guys have to get coddled, and now we can't do what has made Rodgers one of the elite players in the league the last 20 years. Like we can't do that anymore. Like take that off the table. And then Rodgers was like, or how about we freaking have some accountability? And then of course, Robert Saleh just completely turns it around. And he's like, oh, that's not really what I meant, or whatever. So like, what do you think about Saleh saying, oh, well, maybe to do away? Again, this is not the direct quote, because I didn't write it down. I don't really give a shit. Like it just pisses me off to listen to the guy. But like, oh, let's get rid of the cadence because it's too much for our players who make millions of dollars a year.
Yeah, it goes back to what I said earlier. There's just a difference in mindset. Like with Rodgers, it feels like he understands, let's fix this. Let's hold people accountable and get better at it. It's not an idea of like our guys aren't capable of it. There's just a lot of coddling with Saleh. And I think confidence in your players is a good thing. You should have it. But he kind of has taken it to the extreme in his tenure with the Jets, to where there's just not enough accountability. And it kind of shows in some of their star players this year, or supposed stars who have not played like it. When you look at Breece, when you look at Garrett Wilson, a lot of these guys are, not to take away from what they did the past couple of years, they have legitimate ability to be superstars. We all still believe that, I think, but they didn't establish it yet. The Jets didn't win a lot of games. They didn't necessarily put up the production to be stars yet. They just showed that they could be, but it almost feels like they were already crowned going into this year, and they're just kind of riding off of that without coming out here and proving like they were this year, supposed to, that now that they have these surroundings, then they'll show everyone how great they can be. But instead of that, it just feels like they have already proven it, but they haven't.
Yeah.
So, and I think it trickles down from the head coach, and Vitor had a really good tweet about this a couple days ago. I'll give him credit for that from Jets X Factor. But one of the most troubling things about Saleh is that he's not a Sean McVay, a Kyle Shanahan, who has to not only be the head coach, but go out there on game day and make the game plan and call all the plays and be a mastermind on either side of the ball. He doesn't do any of that. He's not calling plays on offense or defense. He delegates all the game planning, all the play calling. His job is simply to be the C. That was the big word that we used when he was hired, the CEO.
CEO, yeah.
And even in that aspect, he can't do it, despite not having all that other stuff on his plate that a lot of, if not most head coaches in the league now do have on their plate. All he was supposed to do is make sure this team is disciplined, prepared, and has an identity going into game day. And it still doesn't feel like they have that 4 years into this, which is troubling because he's not bringing you offensive game planning, defensive game planning, anything that a lot of other coaches bring to the table today. So it just calls into question, like, what is his impact? And I'll give him credit for the talent development, especially on defense. Great job with that. I think he's done a decent job of, squashing some of the drama that they may have had in previous years, just in terms of, I guess, clearing the Adam Gase bar isn't too much, but so he's done some things well. But for a guy who doesn't do much on game day, you would like to see a better culture and product on field in terms of having a team that you can count on to show up and play professional football every week, not committing a lot of penalties, being prepared on a weekly basis, avoiding blowouts, avoiding letdowns, following up strong games with more strong games. And we haven't seen that yet. So they have 13 weeks to correct some of those things. They're talented enough to do it. But to this point, the Broncos game it may just be one game, but there are so many concerns that were supposed to be squashed this year with this roster that were brought back up with this game. And that's troubling.
Yeah, it's a thing where he wants to be everybody's friend, but at a certain point, a really good friend can be like, "Hey, Breece, not verbatim like this, but Breece, you really struggled this game, man. You got to get your head out of your ass a little bit here." But he just wants to be friends with everybody. Like you said, it's just concerning. Even the Niners game, it's you have how many months to prepare for this game? You know that your team is weak against gap scheme and all this stuff, and you don't prepare for it. You're not ready for it at all. Your guys aren't going to set the edge. They're not going to do their job. They're all going to try to make their individual plays and not play as a team. Then what were you doing all summer? Where was your game plan there? And then obviously the in game stuff. He seems to be slow to make adjustments, not having his guys ready. And then in terms of the actual positions on the field too, and I'll throw this to you first. I want your answer before I even give it. But what do you think about the offensive coaching? And we were talking about having Gibson on 3rd and 4th and 10 run isolated vertical routes that can turn into fades at the first down marker is an absolute joke, because the guy, and he had a drop earlier in that game, it was right into his hands. He didn't look the ball and he dropped it. When you have Mike Williams on the team, again, just beyond dumb. And another thing too with the receivers, by the way, and we'll get into Garrett, and we'll get into Lazard, but this Corley was a guy they were trying to trade up into the second round for, because of why? His main thing was yak, and if you can't make a yak plan for him right now and your offense is struggling a lot, why even trade up for? Why did you even try to trade up for him? You didn't have a plan for what you're gonna do for him. So I think that's dumb too, that we've seen Corley for 2 snaps. But what do you think about specifically Solomon Thomas on the goal line? Because I'll preface it with saying that people say, and this is what I'll throw to you, and then I'll have my response after you. Well, if it worked, you would say it was good. What do you think about Solomon Thomas and then that comment to follow?
Yeah, I mean, I think that applies to a lot of things. If they worked, we would say they were good, or if they are good, if they were bad, we would criticize it. You kind of just react to what happens. That's all you can do. But I don't know. They decided not to go with the fullback on the roster, which was something that was notable when they did it, and we wondered how they would fill that hole. And they've tried different tight ends, taking snaps in that position. But it's if you want to run plays like that involve a fullback, you should have a fullback on the team. I think I admire that they have some semblance of creativity, I guess, but there's creativity and then there's just being stupid. And I think that's the latter, because just because a guy's big doesn't mean he can play fullback. Then you should have kept Mekhi Becton and put him back there if it were that easy. To just, if size were the only thing that was a factor in how good you are at playing fullback. And then not only that, like people talk about Breece getting the 2 goal line carries there, but third down they have Braelon in, but they're doing a play fake to him and has to block while Solomon Thomas is running a flat route. Like, I know you were ripping that one, and Rodgers kind of missed a touchdown window there to Conklin, as you pointed out. So it could have worked, but nonetheless, the fact that it's just wasted snaps of Solomon Thomas in there. Do more Breece Braelon packages if you're gonna do stuff like that. I would make that substitution.
Well, that and even on I don't know if it was a first or second down play on the goal line, but you have Conklin trying to kick out a D end, and they ran a G lead to the left there, and you have Conklin trying to kick out a D end. It's like just the design did not make sense because Conklin got blown back because he's 50 pounds outweighed. And then was it John Simpson couldn't pull to the proper place, and it delayed it because Conklin got blown back. Why are we having Conklin trying to kick out a D end on the front side of power on the goal line? Like, what are we doing here? And then the response to, if it worked, you wouldn't criticize it. There's different plays on it would be different if Thomas blocked down. And then it was like a pop pass or he sneaked out or something like that where nobody expected it. That makes sense. When you have Solomon Thomas running a flat route as one of your primary reads, it does not make sense because let's say that it did work somewhat, right? And he out leverages the linebacker, the safety, the corner, whoever exactly was there, I forget, to the sideline, and then Rodgers has to fit in a ball. With Solomon Thomas on the run, does he catch the fucking ball? He should be in situations where it's a little pop pass into a floater and he catches the ball. Can he catch a heater from Rodgers on a flat route with a linebacker behind him? Probably not. So what the hell is he doing? And then another play, he's a lead blocker. I think it was actually the first play on power. Just because you're big does not mean you can block. He comes into the block, hands out, and he's almost standing straight up and he gets stood up. No shit. He's never pulled before or he's never lead blocked. Why not have, I don't know, Max Mitchell who's pulled in his life before, or Connor McGovern who's pulled in his life before, or I don't know, Carter Warren who's pulled in his life before. You're trying to make a 300-pound defensive lineman who's never done it do it. It doesn't make sense. And people said it in the other game where he scored Breece scored the touchdown against the Patriots. Solomon Thomas blew up the guy on the edge. He did not blow up the guy on the edge. He got blown up. He got stood up versus a DB and then put on his ass. Just because he's big does not mean you could block. He comes out with his chest completely open, he gets stood up, and then the running back is forced to cut the run back. No shit. He's not an offensive lineman. What are we doing? And then you're using him again as a primary read on a flat route. Who's to say if he's wide open, he even catches that ball? What are we doing? So I am not a results first process guy. I am a process guy. And the process there was idiotic. So that on top of the third down plays where, you have to have it fourth down, whatever it was, Xavier Gibson on a back shoulder where he doesn't even know the ball is coming to him. The attention to detail from the staff is just baffling, on top of the fact that the team just never comes out ready, after big games and extended breaks ready to play. What are they? It's so beyond frustrating to be there for that game. And then as soon as and then the Sinister Jets anime, as soon as they didn't score that touchdown there, I'm like, this is gonna be bad. If the Broncos score a touchdown, we might lose this game, and that's exactly what happened. You have Greg Zuerlein, who's been struggling this entire offseason, miss a kick. Now I'm not going to kill him for it because the other kicker missed a similar kick, but Greg Zuerlein has not been good, and that's one of Greg Zuerlein's things. He's very good one year, very bad another year, and that's why he's not on the Cowboys. Or no, was it Cowboys initially? Cowboys and Rams, I think, were primary teams. I forget, but He's very up and down, and this might be an up and down type of season. But it just seems like they conceded. Like you have a blitzing team who's getting to your quarterback, really really quickly, and you run like a delayed slant or delayed in with Lazard with Conklin in the flat, like running quicker developing plays there. Like what the fuck are we doing? It's so bad. I'll get into the chat. We'll get to the individual players, but the comment of, oh well, if it worked, you'd credit. No, I wouldn't. You should never send a 305-pound D tackle on a flat route as a primary read. It's completely different if he's blocking and he leaks out. But in that instance, why are we not using Connor McGovern, a guy who's actually blocked before? Like, why are we trying to get so tricky here? Just so frustrating. Eagle thing, I saw your comment about Adams. We'll get into that a little bit, so I don't want to highlight it. I'll save Adams after we roast the Jets in this game. Billy SBC says, I don't want an airline flight that panics when things go wrong in the cockpit, and I don't want a head coach that does so either. You're not going Robert Saleh. Like, okay, fine. He could be, well, one, he's rattled this week because he's been frustrated with the media. You could tell it's getting to him. And two, like I don't know how to make a proper analogy to this, but like sure he's not panicking, but the plane's also going into the Hudson River. So like sure he's like, okay, this is fine, but we're fucking driving off a bridge. So like sure he doesn't panic, but like you have to do something different than you've done the last couple of years because the penalties have been a problem. And people could say, oh, well, the penalties weren't a problem the first 3 weeks. Well, maybe they were the outlier because you had 15 penalties in this game, and a lot of them. How do you have 2 false starts from a running back? And I listened to I think it was your Cooler Guts this week where you said you didn't blame Alan Lazard for the finger gun thing. There's a rule where you're not allowed to mock a gun in the NFL. Is it a stupid rule? Yes, it's a stupid rule. Is it a stupid rule that I have to wear a white t-shirt to work every single day? And if not, I'll get written up. Yes, it's a stupid rule, but I'm not an idiot, so I follow the rules. Lazard, you cannot be mocking guns. It's a very dumb rule. It's still a rule. So like the lack of discipline there was beyond dumb. False starts, Tyron Smith, holding, Fashanu, illegal man downfield, just baffling with the coaching, with the penalties. And at a certain point, like I'm very like 50-50, penalties versus coach. Who is it? But when it carries over you for 4 years, it's a solid problem, more so than the players, in my opinion, whether that be the lack of discipline when they do have penalties or whatever it is. But it's been 4 years of penalties. So at a certain point, is it the players or Saleh? And to me, it's Saleh. Say hello to some people in the chat. Marvin says listening at the beach. Just enjoy the beach, Marvin. Just listen later. Enjoy the beach. This is not going to make you happy. The film review is not fun. If you want to see me again eviscerate them for an hour and 45 minutes, do it. Because they were all to blame. And we'll get through individual positions this game, but I legitimately don't know. I can't. Now, yes, like you could say relative to an average linebacker, Quincy played well. But nobody met their expectation in this game. Not one player, minus maybe Tony Adams and Morstead, like were the only players. And even the one play, Tony Adams got trucked over, and I think it was a penalty on the Broncos, so it didn't count or anything like that or something like that. But like nobody played well in this game. So embarrassing. RJ says we've been getting clowned for the past 2 years. This letting Rodgers run the show. At this point, I trust Rodgers running things more than any of the clowns in charge. Yeah, for sure. Meatball Parm, what is up? Orlando says, what's up, guys? Please keep providing this top of the line Jets content. I truly appreciate it, dude. There is times where like after the game, Nanya, and like what it is. Again, a few beverages in, we're like, I don't want to do this shit anymore. Like, why am I dedicating my time to this absolute garbage? And like at a certain point, you have Hall of Fame quarterback, Hall of Fame left tackle, good, all pro rookie, or all rookie team center, great right guard, great right tackle, these superstars, this guy. And we still have games like this. Like it was not supposed to be like this year. And I understand losing a hard fought close game. I understand maybe going to Pittsburgh and it's a defensive battle, but they look at least competent. The thing I want at the minimum is effort and competency. Like you could have a bad game while still being competent. They were not competent in this game.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, this was not supposed to happen. It does bring up some like overarching thoughts about what this team is, this organization is, because like you just said, I mean, you laid it out. I mean, how many more positions could they have, premium talent at? And they're still getting the same exact game that Rodgers and all these additions were supposed to eliminate. No one expected the Jets to be undefeated. Yep. They could lose games at Buffalo, against, Pittsburgh, like you said, Houston, whatever. They have weaknesses. They're not perfect, but the single thing they were supposed to eliminate by having Aaron Rodgers was flipping those games last year against the Patriots, against the Raiders, against the Falcons, where you literally just score one more touchdown and you're good. And now you're 10-7, you're in the playoffs. And here we go again. And it just it does make you think sometimes whether there's anything this organization can do. It's hard not to let your mind wander to that place. Because man, I mean, it's just not supposed to be possible when you look at the names on this depth chart.
Yeah, as compared to the Broncos,
and
like
Mike Williams, Garrett Wilson, but Tyron Smith, who's not Tyron Smith anymore, apparently. So it's rough.
Like, how many stats did you hear before this game, Nani? Where it's like, oh well, Rodgers on extended breaks is this record? You know, Rodgers when his defense allows 10 or under points is like 33-2. Rodgers is undefeated on Monday Night Football. Rodgers is this and all these, and now he's like losing these type of games. It's like, well, you're a freaking Jet now. Like you'll understand like all these stats we can't really rely on anymore because you're a Jet, not a Packer now. Like it's just, I don't know, brutal. Sneakers to boots. What's up, fellas? Joe, appreciate the shotgun. What a difference a week makes for vibes. Yeah, man. I still think this is gonna be an 11-win team. I do if they get their shit together. To me, do they technically have to win the next, 2 out of the next 3? I don't think so. I think there is a world where they go 1-2 and they can still make the playoffs and stuff like that. But 2 out of 3 would be huge, specifically against the Bills. If you're competing for the division, I don't think you could lose that game against the Buffalo Bills next week. Obviously we've been handling them pretty well at home with Zach Wilson. So with Aaron Rodgers, hopefully they can take that victory away. But again, just at least look confident. Like don't have another one of these absolute stinkers. And I'm very behind the chat. I do see some live chats like, oh, why wasn't this supposed to happen anymore? It's because you have a Hall of Fame quarterback and you have a bunch of elite talent and you're playing Bo Nix and the Broncos, a guy who did not have a passing touchdown until this game, rookie in rainy weather. Like it's not like the Jets were playing in the rainy weather and then suddenly it stopped and the Broncos offense was on the field. Like both teams were playing in those conditions. Like how did the Broncos come out and look so much more ready for the game than you guys? And again, like shit on Sean Payton if you want. And I know we were having the conversation before the game. It's like, hey, is Sean Payton really that much an advantage over Robert Saleh at this point? I would take Sean Payton over Robert Saleh, at this point. So it's just so bad. Swolsey says, I'm over here in the aftermath. And by the way, Snickers to Boots, I appreciate for the shotgun as well. Worst natural disaster in living memory from my area. And all I wanted to do on Sunday while I didn't have power running water was watch the Jets win. Yep, Solzy, I'm sorry. I'm hoping you're recovering well and everything's in order there, and you can watch the Jets dub this weekend. It'd be like so Jets to like win 2 out of these next 3 games, us to get all pumped, and then they go to New England and have a stinker against New England because they're buying their own shit again. Like it's just I think they're buying their own hype, and I think they just need to play freaking football. Like Breece Hall just does not look like the same player, and like you thought this would happen last year. Was coming off the ACL, and I saw some of the comments in the video. It's like none of it was Breece Hall's fault. It's like that is one complete bullshit, and you just like the guys. You're saying that he couldn't have done any better than 0.4 yards per carry, while Braelon Allen is averaging 4.5 or whatever, 4.3 or whatever he did in this game. So like the excuse making for these guys has been ridiculous, and there are some excuses. Garrett Wilson's on the same page as Rodgers and stuff like that, but Garrett Wilson himself has not been good this year. Again. And he has the ball. And I don't know if you watched the review last year, anybody in the chat, but like there's multiple times where I said, hey, when he's running for Yak, the ball is held very, very loosely, and he better start tucking that shit. What happens in this game? He tries a Chuka guy, ball comes up completely off of his body. He gets hit, the ball slips out, like especially in rainy weather. And you can't just blame the weather for that. When you have bad technique. Now it was a thing where he had proper technique and it was nice and snug. Then okay, maybe it was just the weather. But when you hold the ball out like this, like a loaf of bread, then yeah, you have more chance to obviously fumble, to fumble that ball. So that was not good. Yeah, and you have again multiple Breece plays that were not great. You have the play where he's hitting the flat and he has Surtain one-on-one in the open field. Can't make Surtain miss. It's like, where's the Garrett Wilson against the Ravens where he made like 3 or 4 guys miss in the first play he got the ball, but like now you're one-on-one. It
was also raining in. So
another game. It rains 50% of the games in MetLife. It's brutal. Rodgers seems to be double clutching a fair amount in the first game. Is that I wouldn't say in the first 4 games he's double clutching a lot. Like there was some plays he missed in the first 3 games, but I would say very, very, very easily this is his worst game as a Jet. Like and there's been week 1, they were efficient. They didn't have the ball a lot, right? Week 2, some miscommunications, like missed Garrett Wilson deep. We could have had it, but still like 1 or 2 bad plays. Week 3 against the Pats, 1 or 2 misses, but still really, really good game. This was the first game that he looked like a below average quarterback. Like, this was not a good game from Aaron Rodgers at all. He missed Conklin in the end zone, in my opinion, in that one play. He missed Conklin deep because he wanted to get it to Garrett Wilson too quickly in the flat. He missed Conklin on the corner route as a part of a sail concept, which the ball was wet. I'm not going to kill him for that. He missed Lazard on an out route. He looked very uneasy in the pocket. The one deep ball to Mike Williams, he's looking to the left side and he jumps to the right side, but his transitional footwork is terrible. And transitional footwork is basically just having your feet in sync with your eyes and getting ready to throw the ball at any moment. And that he's looking to the left and he looks to the right and his whole body still pointed to the left side, or his whole lower half. And he tries to throw the ball like completely off kilter, and then the ball was way too far inside. So he did not look easy in the pocket. He looked like he was panicking a little bit, like kind of hearing footsteps, seeing ghosts type of deal. There was a couple of times where he ran into a sack with a clean pocket. There was the one play to Lazard where he gets the first down, but he rolls right into pressure. Like Rodgers was not confident in the Jets offensive line, and he definitely looked rattled after. And it happens. Like, hey, you're 40 years old, you get hit. 12? I think it was 12 quarterback hits, 5 sacks, something like that. So like, he's going to start to feel uneasy, but this was not a good Rodgers game either. Like, I'm not just going to make excuses for him either, because again, I'm not holding anybody accountable or anything like that. But if people are playing a bad game, we're not just going to gloss over and say, oh, well, it was the coaching in this and just blame everything on the coaching. Everybody played like balls this game for the most part, maybe minus 1 or 2 guys.
No, you said it. I mean, he missed a lot of opportunities in this game. It felt like, as you said, between the first 4 games, there's no game where he missed more chances than this one. I think some of those throws probably get converted if it's not raining like that, but you also have to get used to it, because we know when you play MetLife Stadium, it's more likely than not it's going to rain, especially if you're going to play deep into the playoffs. And he's used to the Green Bay elements, but it doesn't really rain there, right? Unless I'm wrong. I feel like it's just cold or it snows late in the year, but I don't feel like they have a lot of wet games over there. So maybe that's not something he's as used to. But regardless, just decision-making wise and field vision, as you mentioned, there were plays to be had that weren't targeted. So, yeah, that was his worst game. But I do feel like there were still a lot of big time throws in this game that he made along with that. So I don't think it was atrocious, but it was definitely well below his standards.
Yeah.
And the bar that he was supposed to bring, the floor of just get us 11 points to win this game, 12 points. Yeah. And he wasn't able to do that. So he can be better. And I expected him to, we talked about it going into this game after looking at what Denver was doing against Tampa Bay the previous game. They left open opportunities that Baker Mayfield just didn't hit because he was spooked by their blitzes. And it seemed like Aaron Rodgers would have hit the same opportunities, but he did not in this game for one reason or another. So everyone can share in it. Aaron Rodgers is the number one reason to be confident in this team, but it doesn't mean, he always gets a pass. He can have bad games too. And I think this was, maybe not bad by average NFL quarterback standards, but by his standards, probably. For sure bad, yeah. So no, he can improve for sure.
Yeah, I'm saying undoubtedly for his standard, that was a bad game. Like there's no way. And there was even a few times I'm not going to be able to, I put up, I think 20 Rodgers plays in that review. There was plays where even like he was skipping open guys, like it'd be 1st and 10 and Lazard would be open on a 5-yard hitch and and verse pressure was getting hit all game. He would skip on that and almost be pressing to make a bigger play. Like there's plenty of times where there was guys open and he wanted more, which didn't really make a lot of sense considering the pressure he was under. So Rodgers was flustered this game. Like he did not. And listen, hey, that was the number 2 blitzing team in the NFL. Guess who's number 1? They're coming up in 3 days. So you better get freaking ready and figure out how to adjust because they're going to do the same shit the Broncos did, if not even better. So we'll see exactly how that works. But I'm going to get to a super chat or 2 in here. One Joe to another Joe. Hi, guys. Getting Adams, I don't think will move the needle until we have a competent coaching staff. Will it move the needle to the point where they're going to win a Super Bowl with this coaching staff? Maybe not. I don't know if we can trust this coaching staff to make the Super Bowl and make a deep playoff run at this point. It'd be kind of hard to imagine them, out scheming and out coaching guys like Harbaugh and Andy Reid and Shanahan potentially in the Super Bowl. So I'm definitely concerned about the coaching and how far it's going to bring us.
The only thing I can say quickly on that point is that right now, with the way Doug Peterson is looking, that's buying a little bit of hope for teams like the Jets who feel like they have to overcome coaching to win a Super Bowl. But although even Doug Peterson has shown a lot more than Robert Saleh has, but there is, I guess he does set somewhat of a precedent of, maybe it is possible to win a Super Bowl without the best coach. But again, Doug Peterson right now has had like 5 winning seasons. Robert Saleh has had, I think, 0, if I recall correctly. So
0. Yeah, and it's a thing too. We're like, hey, just talking about individual plays, like maybe because the coaching staff, Devante Adams is also on the bench with Mike Williams and Xavier Gibson still out there on a have to have it play. But maybe that's Devante Adams on 3rd and 4th and 10 on isolated, and maybe he actually breaks at the sticks like he's supposed to, or look for the ball at the sticks. But so it would move the needle. Like I think if they have Devante in that game, they probably win because of him, because of his connection with Rodgers. But I guess we can get into it a little bit before we get into some other chats and stuff. I'm 85%, 90% certain that Devante Adams is going to be a Jet. Now it seems like they'll have to pay like $13-ish million if he's to become a Jet before this Sunday, which I would be after this Sunday. This would be like $12 million. But what do you think the chances that happens? And are you nervous? Because like he didn't say that the Jets were the only team he would play for. It seems like Steelers and Commanders and Saints and stuff like that. So it's not like a situation where he's forcing himself to the Jets, but it seems like the Jets are his number one destination. The Jets want him. Rodgers wants him. So do you think this happens, or do you think the Jets fuck it up? Because like to me, it's crazy. Like, you have to kind of go all in at this point, because at a certain point, like Joe Douglas and Saleh, their jobs are on the line. So like, I can't see them not making this move. And obviously Rodgers, I think, would be pissed if they didn't do this either. So I am very, very certain that Adams is going to be a Jet in the next week or two.
Yeah, I would say I'm like 90% sure. I can't rule it out. But the desperation for all parties right now, from Adam's side, it seems like he's motivated. But the Jets side, Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh, they don't know if they're going to be here if the Jets don't make the playoffs or don't, who knows what the bar is. But yeah, they don't have a successful season. They don't know if they're going to be here. I think, the timing of this coming after the game that they're coming after right now, definitely hastens this sort of situation. I would have been interested to see how it would be treated if they were thriving and playing great right now, but that's not the reality, so it doesn't matter. They look like they really need him. It's more so than what we thought it might be, because this always felt inevitable, but it felt like it was going to be a luxury. Like, we're building a super team here, and it still could be that they get him, but it now feels more like they need him if they're going to get this offense playing at a level that is even remotely Super Bowl caliber. So I just feel like the motivation on all sides is going to push them to get this thing done. They're all in. It's about this year. You have to, put future years aside and understand that in terms of pursuing a championship, this year carries more weight than future years with the way that you've structured your contracts, your roster, the timelines for your players. It's about this year. So you can't miss an opportunity of a superstar player wanting to play for your team to improve your chances of winning this year.
Yeah. Can you imagine like bringing in Devante and there's another game we score 9 points? Like at what point is it almost like overkill? Like Devante Adams, Mike Williams, Tyler Conklin, Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, like on the, like we literally have to have a super team to be able to overcome this coaching staff. And again, like is people say, is it even worth it? At this point, just go all in. Like I don't know what's going to happen after Saleh and stuff. Like let's be realistic. It's probably not going to end up in a Super Bowl in the next year or two. Everybody probably gets fired. Rodgers is gone. Garrett Wilson's gone. I'm not looking forward to it. So let's at least have some fun while we can, and obviously bring in Devante Adams for I would guess probably like a third and like a fifth round pick or something like that. I don't think it's going to be a second round pick. Now, if it is a second round pick, I'm okay with it. Like, it is what it is. Again, the Jets were trying to trade up into the second round for Malachi Corley, and he's played a total of 2 snaps. So how impactful is that second round pick going to be anyway?
Right.
I'm not so sure. So if it's going to take, it's going to be the difference between getting Devante Adams and not getting Devante Adams, I will give up that second round pick, especially considering you're getting him for, I don't know what at this point, 12 games after this week instead of what we thought before, like 7 games at the trade deadline or whatever it would be. So that extra, it's okay. I'm not gonna kill the Jets if they give up a second round pick. Another super chat from M. Lopez. Joe is at the game. Your rant is spot on. Are we wasting our time? There was no explanation to that showing other than me being there and I'm a jinx. It's not you being a jinx, dude. Like, I
guess everyone in that stadium is. What dude, Jets fan has a winning record at games that they've been to?
Not me, man.
I would like to meet them.
I've been going to games, I've had basically season tickets since 2010, 2012. My apologies. My first year having legitimate season tickets, Nania, was the year we got Tebow, which I should have just stopped there. But yeah, I've been going to at least 6, 7, 8 games for 14 years now. So I've been so frustrated leaving that stadium. It just, again, I did not feel like it was supposed to happen this year, but nonetheless, Another YouTube member, George Perez. I appreciate that. Again, George, now you can go and watch the full review. Again, you get we'll get emojis in here eventually. You get the green banner again. You get the I think you get like a player next to your name and stuff now too as well. So some benefits there, and obviously you also are supporting the channel. So I appreciate you a lot, George. Let's get through some of the other chats. I'm just trying to find where I was. The worst fans in the NFL chanting Aaron Rodgers while offense was on, but being quiet while the defense was on the field.
Me.
The Aaron Rodgers.
Was your
chants.
Part of the stadium doing that? Because it was right around me. Where a lot, like, it was the end of the game. You have 9 points. You actually, it might have been early. They didn't even have a first down yet, and they're like chanting, like, "Come on, guys!" I understood it last week. That was a revelation. That was, worshiping him made sense in that moment. I think we were all head over heels in that moment. But when you have no first downs, you have 9 points and you're losing, the offense is on the field and you're chanting the quarterback's name. I was not in the position to do that, but to each their own, I guess.
Jan says my kids started the whole game. Started? Are you saying like we're there for the whole game? That's how soft the rain was. Again, I put on Twitter like it was an aggressive drizzle. Really, it was just raining. Like it wasn't a downpour. It wasn't a drizzle. It was just raining with no wind. Like you can overcome rain. You're making. I don't want to be that guy, but you're making millions of dollars a year. Like we were, not when you were there, but we were chucking up balls in the parking lot. Yeah, was I dropping maybe 10% more than I normally do? Sure, but like I could still throw a ball, however many yards and catch a ball. Like it wasn't unplayable conditions. Like you have Rodgers who plays in the played in the frozen tundra with snow and all this stuff. Like that was not, and like being realistic, like yeah, it's cold and all that stuff, but it was 65, 70 degrees out. Like I've been to games like the Jaguars game where everybody's blaming Sam Darnold for talking about the rain. Like it was like 40 degrees and raining and windy. Like those games really suck. This game was not that bad for the rain. Like I've been to much worse rain games in my tenure as a miserable Jets fan, but. Dano says, question, do you believe that Saleh is as ho-hum behind the scenes as he portrays to the media? Sometimes I wonder because his relationship with the beat is so battered, but I don't know. Yeah, I do. I think he's probably really soft for these players in the locker room too. And oh man, you'll get him next time. A little spank on the tush. Don't worry about it, guys. I don't think he's hard on these guys at all. And at a certain point, again, you got to you have to be transparent with these guys. Like, hey, Breece, you're struggling in this game. I'm sorry, Braelon Allen's playing better than you. We're gonna put him on the field. Like you're all professionals. You can't necessarily worry about feelings. I'm not saying be completely like absolved to feelings. You have to be somewhat aware of it. But like, if these guys aren't playing well, if they're not producing, then you have to kind of confront them. Like Garrett Wilson should be confronted. Garrett Wilson is playing, and again, remove the name Garrett Wilson and everything we've thought about him before. If you watch Garrett Wilson's film this year, you'd be like, okay, a number 2. Like he's a decent number 2 at this point. The way he's been playing, he's not been playing like a number 1 this season so far. I'm sorry. So that's been disappointing. Again, Breece Hall is definitely getting outplayed by Braelon Allen. And I tweeted at some point during the game, I'm like, who would have thought that Allen Lazard at this point would be better than Garrett Wilson and Braelon Allen, a fourth round running back, I guess, or maybe 5th, early 5th or late 4th. Yeah. Late 4th, okay. Would be better than Breece Hall, who was talking about himself as a top 3 running back in the NFL. Like, I really think Breece is in his own head with this stuff and is trying to hit the home runs consistently, because he just does not look right. Let's see. Momo says, great film breakdown on Breece. Yeah, it was Breece. It was Garrett. Like even Garrett in that review. How many times is Garrett gonna beat a guy in a slant, but then take the route vertical? It's elementary school shit where when you beat a guy in a slant, if that guy is still on your hip or close to you, you cut it flat, because if you take it vertical, he can undercut your angle. So you have to run away from him and flatten it out. And there's been many times this year where Garrett takes it vertical, and there's a reason that Rodgers is not trusting him. Like there's multiple plays in the game that I broke down as well where it'd be like third and 5 or 3rd and 4, whatever, and Garrett Wilson is isolated, and Rodgers doesn't even look his way. Like Rodgers isn't even looking his way someplace. So Rodgers is not trusting Garrett, and Garrett hasn't earned it because he's been stepping out of bounds. He's been dropping balls. He's been fumbling balls. He doesn't cut his routes flat when he's supposed to. I don't know what was supposed to happen in that one play where he threw it up the seam. It looked like maybe it was supposed to be an in break there if he had coverage over the top. He was not supposed to hit it down, because then you have Lazard coming right in on the dig. It would make no sense, but maybe it's an in cut. So they weren't on the same page there. So like Garrett Wilson's losing trust with Rodgers, which is not great. Just beloved piece. This team would be 1-3 if Levis wasn't a turnover. Yeah, listen, if he didn't throw the ball backwards, yeah, they're 1-3 right now. So like maybe we're lucky we're 2-2, and maybe the Jets can get their head out of their ass right now. But you'd think after getting blown out versus the Niners, barely beating the Titans, they would have their heads on straight. But again, the Patriots game was too much success for the Jets team. Like just again, embarrassing. Dano, give Braelon 20 touches and we can control several key games. Dude is a diamond in the rough and we are blind. I think I saw something today. It was like ranking the running backs like grades or whatever, and Braelon Allen was like number 2 in the league. Surprising that he's playing better than Breece right now, and it's undoubtable. I know he's been blocked up a little bit better than Breece has, but still, Brown now is at least breaking tackles. You have Breece Hall, who's 1-on-1 with DBs in the second level, not making a miss. So surprising.
Yeah, and I think as you manage it, like you don't want to overreact to the first 4 games. And Braelon's only had 27 carries, which isn't a lot, but it's just a consistency at which he's been successful that makes him so appealing to use more. It's not like there was 1 or 2 cool plays and you're going off of that with projecting him. It's, he's had the highest percentage of carries for 5+ yards of any running back in the league. It's just carry after carry. He keeps the offense moving, and that's something you can count on to be sustained. So that's why it's, I wrote an article this week. I think they should, think about going 50-50 this week. See what happens.
Yeah.
I mean, look how good that's worked for Detroit with David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. I think either of those guys.
By the way, did you see Jahmyr Gibbs on the goal line the other night, actually punching the ball in and breaking a tackle? And there was a situation, again, one of those goal line situations where Breece is 1-on-1 with a linebacker in a hole, and he gets completely stood up. Like, lower your shoulder at a certain point. You're 220 pounds. He runs with no power.
The blocking wasn't ideal on either of those plays, but when you're 1-on-1 and you only need a yard, that's where the running back comes into play. That's where you make your money, is making those things happen when it's not blocked up for you. It's something that, made him so appealing coming into this year, because he never had blocking and he still showed the things that he showed. So, I think going into this game, it's a good opportunity to, pump Allen up a little bit, take Breece down a little bit, and maybe that helps Breece get back to the peak of what he's shown he can do. Yeah. If he's only playing, getting half of the reps, if he's fresher and he has enough juice to, maybe hit that 1 home run that he hasn't hit yet. It's not an indictment on his potential to take his reps down. It's just embracing the revelation that you have in Braelon Allen and understanding the impact that he can make and how using him more can potentially make Breece Hall more effective. So I really think, past couple games, it's been around 60-40 in terms of Hall versus Allen combined carries and targets that they've each gotten. So they're not that far off from 50-50 already. So I would take that next step in this game. See what happens.
Yeah, and if Saleh's too soft to actually tell him that he's not playing well, then maybe him losing reps and will wake Breece up. Like I really do think it's a thing where like he sees one Jets drive, he sees all the stuff in his rankings on Twitter and fantasy football, and like he bought into his own hype, and it's just like he like I don't know if checked out mentally. He's just in his own head. Like he has to just get back to playing football and like being what he was in year 1 and year 2. Like you make all the excuses you want for Breece, but he looked undoubtedly better last year at this point. And he had much less talent to work with on offense, both from an offensive line standpoint, receiver standpoint. And he had Zach Wilson. There was 25 guys in the box. Like there's less guys in the box this year, and he's playing worse. So what happened? Like there's no way the box is stacked more than it was last year. Like teams are undoubtedly playing off a little bit more because of Rodgers, and he's performing worse. So something's got to happen with him. Same thing with Garrett too. Like Garrett, I don't know, man. I don't know. Jets have talent, which, by the way, we identify as a cupcake, which, the Jets do at this point. Jets have talent. They lack tough leadership. No, and I don't even think it's a thing where, like, you need tough leadership. I don't think it's a thing where you have to be a coach from the 1970s anymore. But I don't think that's what Mike Tomlin is. But he's a player's coach. Harbaugh is a player's coach. But like they clearly, whatever they do works. Like you could be a player's coach and still work, or it could still work. But you don't have to be a drill sergeant. But whatever Saleh's been doing for the last 4 years has not worked out because the consistency and not coming out after extended breaks and the penalties have been brutal. I think they're top 10 in the last 4 years in penalty or something like that. I don't know if it's top. I think it might be like somewhere near 5 or 6 in penalties the last 4 years. So they got to fix that. Let's see. Rodgers, his accuracy is still there, but he hasn't seen the field well. This game, he did not see the field well. In the other games, I can't say that. Like he saw the field great. But this game, again, Conklin missed twice, one for a touchdown, one for probably a 50-yard gain. He was passing guys who were wide open on first down, looking for more against a team who's blitzing him, consistently hitting him. He missed, again, he missed a lot this game. Wasn't great. Rodgers won't last the season with this. But the O-line played fine the first 3 weeks, right? Like I don't think we can criticize the offensive line in terms of pass blocking minus this game. So 3 good weeks, 1 bad. I think the pass blocking will round out, but the run blocking has been abysmal. And again, it's really little stuff. I criticized Tippmann on that one play where he let a linebacker just wide open into an A gap. It's very, very little things that are just completely blown assignments. You have Tyron Smith, who just completely bypasses a guy who shoots into the B gap, and he just lets the guy in the B gap, hits Breece Hall in the backfield, made absolutely no sense. I broke that down. And then Tippmann too, like you're taught if there's a linebacker who's really close to you, and it's specifically more of a tighter zone play, you take 3 steps. 3 steps if that guy is not there, you get to the second level. He takes 5 steps and the guy shoots right behind him. It's like, this is elementary school shit you can learn on YouTube. And he completely blew the play. And he's like, oh, put his head. It's like, what were you thinking? Like, you cannot chase if there's a linebacker, especially if linebackers are being super aggressive and they're at a really vertical angle to you. Like, just such a mental lapses from this offensive line as well. Specifically in the run game, they have to improve because it's been really bad in that aspect. But do you think Woody would fire them midseason? I'll throw it to you, Yanni. Do you think there's a chance that if they can get fired if they lose the next 2, 3, 4 games? What do you think would happen?
I think it has to get really bad. I think 2-6, 2-7. It would have to be something like looking at the next 4 games. If you're 2-6 and you lose to the Patriots, well, they got a short week after that with the Texans. If they lose the next 5, then I guess. But who even cares at that point?
Can I say something controversial that I don't think that Ron Middleton is some coach that we necessarily want to promote to head coach? Like I know he had good speeches and stuff for one Jets tribe, but what has he actually done? Like people act like Ron Middleton would make this such a better team.
They beat the 3-win Jaguars.
They beat the 3-win Jaguars, and he had the thing about dying and not want to go to heaven or whatever in the Senior Bowl. Like, can we stand like Jeremy Ruckert has developed really greatly, right? Like Are we hyping him up too much because of one game? Like I think so with Ron Middleton. So can we all relax with that stuff? And then even Brant Boyer, like I think he's a good special teams coach. Like how many personal fouls and penalties does the special teams get? Like Irv Charles is good for a personal foul every other week. Hardy had multiple penalties when he was here. So like he's good, but his team is also undisciplined. So I don't know. I don't think he'll get. I think it'd take a lot for him to get fired. To be honest, I don't think Woody Johnson has ever done it. Right, Rex was after the season. Bowles was after the season. Gase was after the season.
No, I don't think they ever did.
Mangini was after the season.
Yeah,
right? I don't think they've ever done it.
With Woody.
Dano
says,
I
don't know if they would. Yeah,
9.98K, Joe, almost 10K. Yeah, it went up like 20 with that review. So I'm hoping we could crack 10K before the next game.
Slow climb. We're almost.
I know, man. 20 freaking people. Let's go. Get 20 more people in here. Let's call. Yeah, Dano, call your mom, your uncle. Like, just help us out, Dano. Come on. We need. It's in a slow climb to 10K, but we're putting out more podcasts now. We're putting out the YouTube memberships and stuff. I expect it to keep climbing. But yeah, 20 or 10K before this weekend would help me out a lot. And we'll see how depressed I get because I'm obviously already pissed off from the Jets game this week. It's obviously been cooling down a little bit because you have some time and time does heal most wounds. But if the Mets lose tonight too after blowing a lead yesterday, I'm gonna really be in a dark spot. So we'll see what happens to the Mets tonight as well. Good luck to all the Mets fans out there. They should have won last night, but they blew it. So Allen is my starting running back until further notice. It's just a thing where, like Donnie said, 50-50. And if Breece wants to be the stud superstar running back, then outperform your fourth round running back. Yep. Like at a certain point, it's a what have you done for me lately type of league, or what are you doing for me? It's not like, hey, what'd you do in your rookie year, Breece? If Braelon Allen's outperforming him, then make it 60-40 Braelon Allen, and then 65, and then 70. And if Breece has to get benched, he's benched, but he has to play better. So I'm with you there, CD. I'm not saying necessarily because what is starting, like in terms of like rep share, okay, like what exactly are you saying? But I'm cool with 50-50 for now. Like, would you think that's crazy, Nani? You said it before, like 50-50, but do you think it's unrealistic for the Jets to do? You said it's 60-40 right now, right? Something like that?
No, I don't. Like, that's what I was bringing up in the article I wrote in terms of some suggestions to spark the offense, and they haven't been that far from it. I'm pulling it up right here, but yeah, week 3 against the Pats, Hall had 21 opportunities, rushes and targets combined. Allen had 14, so that's 60-40. Then this past game is 15-9. That's 63-37. So they've already been, 3 out of every 5 are going to Hall. So they're like one step away from 50-50. And based off how the last game went, I think now's a good time to take that next step and just see how it goes. You're not burying Hall. You're not crowning Allen. You're just riding what's worked and what hasn't worked and making adjustments accordingly. So I would say do that and take it from there, see how it goes. Maybe that's the best case scenario for them the rest of the season, is to have a Montgomery Gibbs sort of dynamic between these two guys. I think that could work great. Or maybe Allen's an outlier and he can't handle more reps and Breece gets back to being the guy we expected. Just go with what's working. And right now, Allen it's not even close how much more consistent his plays have been compared to Breece Hall. So I do think it's in line for a 50-50 this week. We'll see if they do it. I don't expect them to do that. They don't do smart things, but we'll see.
Mm-hmm. NY Jets Florida says a crown with thorns in it. I'm not. It's always hard being behind like 40 minutes because I don't know what that necessarily means. But yes, crown with thorns in it. Appreciate the super chat. I don't know, or not super chat. I don't know if I've seen you before. No, I've seen you here before. I don't know if I've seen you in a while though. And New York Jets, Florida. Day 1K. Breece probably won't get paid if he keeps this shitty play up. Garrett probably will still get paid, even though he looks a bit overrated. I would say a lot of bit overrated this year. Again, I still think Garrett could be a top 10 receiver. He just gotta one of his releases got to get better. I think that's been a problem since Ohio State. A lot of people said he was great at releases at Ohio State. I completely disagree. He bows his routes out way too much and he doesn't cover enough ground. He doesn't eat up ground on the corner that never makes them feel uncomfortable and flip their hips. And his contested catches through 3 years have been pretty much non-existent. He does not make contested catches. He had one on the sideline this game, but the lack of detail to like catching a ball on bounds this year has been, the one against the Niners was Zach Kuntz-esque of the preseason, where he has so much room to get his feet in bounds. He just steps out of bounds. Like, what are you doing here? So they don't look hungry. Yeah, it looks like at this point they expect to be good, but don't actually want to do the work on the field to be good. Like they're buying into their own hype. Again, Garrett will not reset the market. He's like the 16th to 20th best receiver in the league. I think it's a potential to be a lot more. I would say right now, though, he's much lower than that. Like I could find 16 to 20 receivers this year who are performing much better than Garrett Wilson. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I think Adams can be added. And then obviously he's going to get much more attention than Garrett at that point. And hopefully Garrett can go off, but he needs to be on the same page as Rodgers. So let's see. Braelon runs tough. Breece doesn't. Yeah. I might get hate for this, but I see Garrett as a guy who may get traded when it's time for an extension. He's playing like a high end 2 receiver, but is he even playing like a high end number 2 receiver right now, Nanya? Like in terms of I don't know, stats can't just be it, but like he's getting 50 yards a game. Is that even high end 2 right now? Like I can't even say that. So with that being said, like
say he's like a league average wide receiver this year. So I guess that's not high end. And like you said earlier, like just if you're able to watch the film and you couldn't see the jersey numbers or anything, it was just like silhouettes, and you watched him, he would just be some guy based on what you've seen this year. Like not bad, but nothing that moves the needle.
And like Momo says, only 4 games and he's getting double teamed. Again, if you want to be a top 10 receiver, he's getting double teamed, but it's not every single play. Trust me, there are plenty of plays where he's not double teamed and he's just not getting open. It's not just, you can't just blame the 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 plays. I know he's played, Snead and all of these guys. But if you want to be a bona fide stud, you got to make plays versus other guys. Like, do you think Tyreek Hill's not getting attention, or Jamar Chase is not getting attention, or Justin Jefferson's not getting attention, or Amon-Ra St. Brown is not getting attention, or Devante Adams or Mike? Yes, they are, but they still make plays because they are studs. You can't just make excuses for these guys. If we want them to be superstars, you can't just say, "Oh, well, he's getting double teamed." And I'm not saying that's just you, Momo, but I've heard on Twitter, it's like, "Oh, well, look at his situation." It's like, yeah, you need to step the fuck up if you want to be considered one of the best right now. Like you said, take the name off the back, erase everything that he's done to this point so far. He looks like a jag. It just is what it is.
And you could even go through the plays and you could find the difference between what he's doing and what would make him a star, because like he's gotten targets. He's 34 this year. That's about 8.5 per game, which is pretty much the same as he had his rookie year when he had 1,100 yards. So go through the plays. He's 191 yards. What if he catches that one against Tennessee that was on his chest? What if he gets the one on the sideline where his foot was out of bounds? And just keep going through those plays that he's botched and 10 yards. And then all of a sudden you're getting 70 yards per game. And
the one over the middle this week where he runs a slant, but he takes it too vertical. Again, elementary school stuff. You're supposed to cut that flat. Yep. He didn't. It's a contested catch situation. And then instead of guess what, extending towards the ball, so you attack the ball so the guy can't get his arm in, he lets the ball hit his chest and Surtain gets a pass deflection. He doesn't attack the ball. So like you can't just say, oh, he's getting double teamed, because there's plenty of instances that he's not doing.
He had in the flat where he was one-on-one with Surtain. That's usually the situation where he makes the guy miss, gets 15 yards out of it, but instead it's a 1-yard catch. So yeah, he's getting doubled, and you could see some plays where, especially against New England, that helped other people get open, but he still had opportunities. It's not like he has 10 targets this year. He's 34. That's a good number of targets.
Was he getting double teamed when he fumbled the ball? Was he getting double teamed when he caught 2 balls out of bounds? Was he getting double teamed when he had illegal touching? Was he getting double teamed when he dropped the ball over the middle this week so he didn't attack it? Was he getting double teamed when he didn't stop the route when Rodgers expected it to, which I think he's supposed to run a dig there, like double ins? Okay, no, I'm not just making excuses for Garrett. I don't think I think Garrett's a terrible player. I don't want people to put words in my mouth, but expecting top 10 receiver play this year, he's looked like a 2 or a 3 this year. Like, let's be realistic, and I don't think that's what he's going to end up as, but he started the season very, very slow, and I don't want to buy into the body language too much, but he doesn't look thrilled on the field or at practice. Like, he doesn't look like the same giddy, happy guy. So Garrett is definitely a guy. I don't know how long I see Garrett in the Jets. I don't think he loves being here at this moment, which is crazy because you have Aaron Rodgers. So what else is is going to Houston with CJ Stroud going to be so much better in 2-3 years? I don't know, but if I had to guess, Garrett's probably not going to be a long-term Jet. Like I would imagine it's Sauce, JJ, and maybe it's Breece, but Breece also he has to get his own head out of his own ass too. So I don't know. Let's see. Garrett is NFL open a lot also, but I honestly think Rodgers doesn't trust Garrett as much because he's never in the right spot. Dropping balls, feet out of bounds. Yeah, there's a reason he doesn't trust him right now, which is unfortunate because he has the potential to be a top 10 guy. We weren't just saying that. Like it's on film, but last year there was questions about him. And I personally, I said it in the review last year, if you guys watched it, I thought Garrett Wilson looked better in his rookie year than his second year. And that was my opinion. There was, I don't know how many contested catch situations that he did not come down with last year, but he was like, he's like maybe like 1 for 10. Like he was not great contested. So yeah, he's got to take his head out of his ass. Just to be real here. They had Solomon Thomas running a route. Yeah, they had him running a route as a primary read on a flat route. And again, even if it worked out, he's running full sprint to the sideline and Rodgers whips it in there. Does he even catch it? Probably not. Like, what are we doing here? That is not a results. That is not a results thing. That's a process thing.
Defensive tackle out too, or who's just coming back, and you're having one of your guys do unnatural things on the field that he's not used to offensively.
Yeah,
is that worth the risk? That's another thing worth considering there.
Yeah, like well, I'm trying to find that play. Yeah, like okay, so let's just say in some world he actually outflanked this guy to the sideline. Is he going to catch this ball? Like even if he had a yard on this linebacker or whatever it is he going to catch that? Probably not. And then again for Rodgers here, like once he comes out of this, once he rolls out here and he sees that Solomon Thomas is covered, there's a window here to put this back shoulder to Conklin. Like I'm not saying like something crazy here. Like it's a 2-inch window. Like this is a 5-6 yard window. And it's a thing where Conklin's looking at him. If he wants to put this back shoulder, Conklin's looking and could adjust to that ball. So why Rodgers didn't get rid of it, I don't know. But there was misplays just misplays all over the place. And the fact that that was your play design on 3rd and goal was brutal. And again, even if he caught it, I would have criticized that because I always try to be process versus results on this show. So let's see. It's a effing woke rule for the finger guns thing. Yeah, again, yeah, sure. But like, I'm sure every single person in this chat who has a job has to do something stupid as hell at work that you do not agree with, that you have to do, that you still do because you do not want to get fired. So if you have some reasons, again, or some things, drop them in the chat. Like I can't wear a black undershirt, Donnie. It sounds pretty stupid that to wear a white undershirt, but if I do, I get written up. Like you can't do finger guns. I'm sorry, you cannot mock a gun in the NFL. It's a rule.
The only thing I would say is just like, has that been communicated that specifically like
I believe
finger
so.
Guns is a
I believe
flag?
so.
Have you seen that flag before?
I
totally disagree with it being one, but even with like in the moment, I don't know. I just feel like, if he were to, get up at like, who was it in 2011 against the Jets who did the Plaxico Burress thing on the Bills? Do you remember that? It was like mocking him, like shooting himself. Was it?
No, I don't. But I hated to go. It didn't matter
who it was
to me.
But like if it's something like premeditated like that, then I get it. But that's just so like it's just so little. I don't know. If it's been communicated, then yeah. But
I've been aware of that for at least a few years that you cannot mock guns and shooting. So guys can point for first downs, but once you start pulling triggers or doing whatever, like it's a rule. Like again, it's stupid, but it is what it is. Like I'm sorry. Like again, I think there's a lot of stupid shit. Like again, you have like. I don't know why can't you smoke weed in the NFL, but you could drink and abuse your wife and crash cars and get in fights, but you can't smoke pot and want to watch a movie and eat taquitos. Like it's just so like just a lot of stupid shit that shouldn't be allowed. Like again, it's just dumb. I don't know. Nate, nice to meet you at the game, Joe. Dude, like there were so many people. Like I met a couple guys in the parking lot. I met Nate, Sneakers to Boots last week. I met there's a group of 5 dudes getting beers. Like, oh, we watched the podcast. I drank a beer with them. Like, awesome. And all for naught. Like, yeah, nice to meet you too, Nate. Next time we'll do a shot together. But yeah, I appreciate you coming up and saying hello. I regretted a little bit after. I was like, I should have bought Nate a shot. Which we did right after, and then that just led to more shots and more depression and more shots and more beers, and then me ranting on Twitter and having to delete some stuff. So I don't want to lose our credentials for JetX. Like I'm sure Sabo's probably sitting there like, should I message Joe yet? Like he's got to calm down. So okay, let's keep going through. Hall of Fame left tackle on the goal line whiffed and fell down, allowing dude. Yeah, let me show that one too. Which and I break it down a lot more in the actual. Oh shit, wrong play. In the actual review, that's another bad play by the offensive. Actually, who fucked that one up? Let's see. That's Tippmann. This is another one that's Tippmann, and I break down why Tippmann did not have a good game. But it is this play with Tyron Smith. Not only did he whiff, CD, he also held. So even if he didn't whiff, he held. And again, I go through it here why this is a terrible play by Tyron Smith, but it is, again, another thing. When you have aggressive linebackers, you have to be ready to adjust to them, and he was not ready for it. There was so much bad. I don't know if that's the play you're talking about. There's another Tyron play that was god awful, but I labeled so many plays in this game, just run game terrible, run game awful, run game this. So I can't find it specifically, but yeah,
I just don't get it. Like, how do guys come here and just seemingly forget what to do? It's one thing if they're slower, which, the one sack Tyron, kind of gave up. You could see maybe he's just a little bit slower than he used to be, which happens when you're in your 30s. But why does a Hall of Fame left tackle come here and not just struggle with basic fundamentals of run block?
Dude, I don't know.
Hall of Fame quarterback who's never lost a game when his team gives up 10 points or less comes here and immediately loses one. Sometimes it's so baffling.
What was the stat with what's the stat right now with Tyron? He hasn't allowed more than 3 sacks since 2017, and through four games here, he has 3 sacks allowed. Just bet. And like even here again, I go through this play like specifically why he should not think that John Simpson's going to pick this up. One, because if you just go by numbers, center versus one tech, left guard versus 4 eye tech here. So if this guy on the edge is going to penetrate through the B gap, you have to pick him up because John Simpson is occupied, and he's laid off the snap. He's laid his hell off the snap, and he lets the guy cross his face. Like, who do you think is picking that up? Based on pre-snap, if the 3 tech, if you can't see my cursor, I don't think, but if the 4 tech over top of Tyron Smith or was not there, then I understand him maybe thinking, okay, Simpson will peel off with the 1 tech and pick him up. But there's a 3 tech. Like, who's blocking the 3 tech then, Tyron? Like, what is he thinking here? Like, just such bad football. Like, it just doesn't, like you said, it does not make sense how you can have I watched that film last year, Nania, and like, more than most. Like, I am an absolute stickler. Like, I look for the littlest shit and criticize people, and I barely found things. Like in my reviews, like I had a list this long of his positives and like this much of the negatives.
Yeah.
And he's been bad this year, like not even average tackle. So I don't know what happens. Like people don that jersey and they just become shitty, and shitty coaches and shitty players. It's just, it is really wild. So, okay, I'm going to keep going down. Let's see. We hit on Rod while I look for another chat. We hit on Rodgers, right? Not a good game from him at all. Go through the review. It was not pretty. Running backs, we hit on them. Receivers, again, Garrett not great in this game. Didn't make a play versus Surtain, fumbled the ball. Slant versus Surtain, took it too high, dropped the ball. Not great for me. He had a nice catch up the sideline. Gibson had a drop. Lazard had, again, another decent game from him, but he had a false start, a hold, and the unsportsmanlike, right?
Yeah.
I believe. Like, how good of a game did you really have when you have 3 penalties? And again, like at what point do you think they get Corley on the field? I don't understand this brass saying that we're going to trade up for this guy and Corley no matter what. And he's had 2 snaps. And again, it's not a thing where Corley had a ton of upside. Like he's one of these 999 RAS guys and he's super raw, which he is raw to a certain extent. But the reason you draft Corley is because he is the yak king. He can at least get yak now. You're not going to learn yak. So you'd think they'd at least have some type of package for him. But no, like they wanted to trade up into the second round for this guy to sit him on the bench.
But yeah, for me, like the thing that makes it puzzling is they don't have a reasonable alternative to be playing over him. Like, even though the give up screen on third down that you're giving to Gibson, like at the very least, Corley can do that. Because I understand, like, we're not watching practice. There are probably things that he's not doing great fundamentally and tangibly that we're not seeing. And that's why he's not on the field. Like, I understand that, but what is Xavier Gibson doing that he can't do? He's not on the same page on the back shoulder with Rodgers. He's not catching easy passes. He's not doing anything. So why can't Corley at least go in those same positions and give you a bigger catch radius, more yak ability, just more overall juice in the same spots? Because it's not like Gibson is out. Rodgers was, pissed at him after that back shoulder throw. He was flipping out on the after that play. You could see on the film. So it's not like Gibson is out here mastering all the fundamentals. So
he's dropping
why
balls.
is he playing over, Corley? And I'm not saying give Corley 50% of the snaps next game, but at least start taking some of what Gibson is playing and give that to Corley. Just see how it goes, and hopefully it progresses from there.
Again, it's a thing where you draft him for his yak. At least use him as a yak receiver or a yak guy at this point. Bubble screens, smoke screens, shield screens, end arounds, reverses, whatever it is. Get him on the field if your offense can't move a little bit. Like I don't understand I'm not saying like he necessarily deserves. I just don't understand the plan. Like, why did you value him so highly if you're not using him for the thing that he offers the most? It just doesn't make much sense. Paul says Rodgers throws sideways all the time. It seems like it's one of his fun. The one thing I will say, and I always thought it was so stupid. And I really thought it was just idiotic. And I could tell who doesn't necessarily know what they're talking about with mechanics. But like, remember when they brought in Rodgers and they said, "Oh, he's going to teach Zach Wilson his perfect mechanics." Rodgers has never had perfect mechanics. Never. He just throws the ball the way he does, but it's not good mechanics. He's never had good mechanics. He's an elite thrower of the ball, but because of his arm, it's not because he has perfect feet. It just makes no sense. So like, I'm not saying that he needs to change anything. He's obviously he's probably the best thrower of the football of all time. So it works, but to say it's perfect,
his mechanics being poor is why he's maybe the most talented quarterback ever, because nothing he does is what you would teach someone to do, but yet he's still as successful as he is. And it's just because of raw talent. That is a testament to his ability. The fact that it's not, he doesn't do it the way it's supposed to be done. Like, how many times watching young Jet quarterback film between Darnold and Zach, you talk about their front foot not being pointed where it's supposed to be, or stepping in the bucket, whatever it might be. Rodgers does that all the time, but it doesn't matter because his arm is so good that he just still puts it where it's supposed to be.
There are so many times where like his body is like completely straight and he's like throwing the ball to the right. It's just like his lower body is not great in terms of the mechanics. So like, it's not something you want to replicate necessarily. George, again, new member, says all of the talk of Hassan Reddick is silent. I don't know. Did Josina Anderson put out another novel that makes absolutely no fucking sense on Twitter? Like, what is she doing, dude? Like, I read her tweets and I literally like I see Josina Anderson tweeted something long. I was like, okay, like, prepare myself mentally. Let me try to read this. But she just says absolutely nothing. Like, why does she try to make tweets so difficult to read? Like, she talks like a disabled Yoda. Like, I don't know what she does. Like, it's so bad. Did she give another update this week? She said something, I think, but it meant nothing. The Jets, in the light of this, may want to. They could in past tense. They wanted to try. It's like, what are you saying? I don't think Hassan Reddick ever plays for the Jets at this point, right, Nani? I think he's done.
Agree.
But the thing is, like, does he try to come back week 9 or week 10 when his contract doesn't toll? But then the thing is, like, does he have to play? Or can he say, "Hey, I came to work, I stubbed my toe, now I'm injured," and then it all counts? Like, I don't know how that works in terms of him just sitting out. But at this point, like, dude, trade him, get something back at a 5th round. I don't know who's going to take him, but get a 5th round pick back and move some money around and get Clowney. Like, I don't know what it would cost for Clowney or anything like that. But if you can get Devante, you get that, $12 million. I think the Jets have like 15 right now. So then you only have $3 million in cap space. But if you want to win a Super Bowl this year, you could not have Michael Clemens, Tack McKinley, all these scrubs.
I remember seeing plays where I'm just watching and I look at the edge and I'm like, 58? Like, is that Carl? Oh, that's Eric Watts. And then Michael Clemens on the other side. I'm like, man, that is it's not going to get it done.
Yeah, so like, can they make and the thing with Clowney too is like, hey, he's on a 2-year, $20 million contract, I believe. And the thing is, like, you're going to need another DN next year, because who's to say that JJ comes back at full form after an Achilles injury? Like, what if it takes JJ a long time to get back? So I would be very willing to move a pick for Clowney. And maybe, if you could make him and Devante work, make it work. But at this point, if Reddick could fuck all that up, so I would try to trade him. I don't know if it's even possible at this point, but they can also cut him. But at that point, are you willing to just eat a 3rd-round pick and just say no, screw it, or do you hope that he just doesn't show up all year, his contract pulls over, and you trade him, next offseason? Because can you imagine the egg on the Jets' face if they don't? If they just cut him outright? And like, I think Josina Anderson said something to this effect. Again, it's word salad, so I have no idea if that's actually what she meant, but it seemed like there was some stipulation in the trade with the Eagles that says that if the Jets were to trade him, that he can't get traded to certain cost the Jets more. I believe like the 3rd pick goes to a second round pick. So you'd think, like, if the Eagles are putting stipulations in the contract to who the Jets can trade him to if it doesn't work out, would kind of like maybe put an alarm bell in Joe Douglas's head, like, shit, this might not work out. Like, let's get this figured out before he comes to the Jets. It's just such a mess. I don't know what's going to happen, but I kind of, I don't know. I could see him walking in week 10 and stubbing his toe and just sitting on the bench, and the kind of, and him counting against like the money we have. I don't know how it works, but man, let's see. Saleh just seems clueless about winning, holding people accountable, motivation. Like, I don't know. He thinks running the stairs like shows these guys a message that, like, hey, you're not alone. I'm physically fit as well. Like, I'm not a lazy fat piece of shit. But Andy Reid, they meet him after the game with burgers and all this shit. Like, they embrace his fat piece of shitness. So like, just it doesn't matter if you're running stairs. Like, be a good coach. It's just stupid. Offensive line still, Carter sucks, and just the individual talent is all good, but all the mental lapses they have, especially in the run game, like I don't understand how they're getting coached, man. Because again, I'm watching things as simple as, again, outside zone, linebacker wide, you could take 5 steps on the first level. Inside zone, linebacker shallow, you can only take 3 steps. Have your eyes on him. Tippett completely outruns it and is doing like a 180, and it's like, oh my god, like I didn't know that guy was going to come in there. Pre-snap alignment, you can't take 5 steps there. Like, what are we, like? And that should be things they're drilling in the meeting rooms, and clearly they're not, or they're listening, but I don't know what happens, because again, there are things, and I said on the review, there's things I talk about all the time with offensive linemen, like the 3-step versus the 5-step and certain like pass offs of stunts and things like this, that I say it so consistently that when it doesn't work, I can like show you why. And I don't know what I'm trying to say there, but like, it's just so frustrating that I can see it. And I consistently point it out, but they can't fix it as professional athletes, professional coaches, but here we are. Okay, let's see. Thank you guys for not entertaining the Garrett Wilson why would we do that? Like, who, like, you're talking about a third. So the trade compensation for Garrett Wilson, for Devante is what? Let's say high end a 2nd round pick, right? If you traded Garrett Wilson right now, you get easily a first, maybe even 2 first-round picks. I know he's had a bad year to start, but you're getting at the minimum of first-round picks. So you're losing value there. And why are you trying to get rid of a guy you think would be a top 10 receiver to then add an older receiver? Like, you want to pair them together. Trading Garrett Wilson makes no sense. So if people said that, I'm not trying to shit on other channels, but what are we doing here? Talking about trading Garrett Wilson. No.
That's just too comical for me to even add 2 cents on.
Stupid. Wealth and Eminence, 1-0 at Jets games. Okay. What Jets game was that? Is it a Pats game? Because if it's a Pats game, I'm finding you and dragging you to the next game.
You got to have
at
least 3 games. Who has at least 3 games and a
3-0?
Winning record at the Jets game?
Jesus.
Even if it's 2-1, who's gone 2-1?
No, you have to have such blind luck to be 2-1 at Jets games at this point over the last 20 years. I can't imagine. Joe is a Tebow lover. That should have been the end of it. I should, like, you know what? Hey, I tried it. Fun experience. I'll go to the home opener every year, but no more season tickets. But I'm an asshole. I just continue to buy them year after year after year after year. They beat the Ravens in 2016. Who beat the Ravens? I'm trying to think who beat the Ravens.
He's saying that's the game he went to when they won.
Oh, in 2016 they beat the Ravens at home.
You remember Geno Smith it was like a 70-yard touchdown to Enunwa, and then Geno got injured.
Oh yeah. That was the game. That was the game where it was like a 70-yard pass to Nunwa, but it was more like a 20-yard pass, and he broke like four tackles. Yeah, that one. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I remember that one. Let's see. It poured during Mike White Bears game, and our offense went off. Saleh blaming dude. It's just a joke. Again, you had a rookie quarterback in a hostile environment in the same weather versus a Hall of Fame quarterback with much better talent. And we're gonna blame the rain? Like the rain? Did you not, Saleh? You should have went to fucking Detroit. You're playing a dome. Like maybe then you don't have the excuses. But like you're playing a Northeast, and it rains here. Again, every other game. So like maybe practice it. Maybe practice with wet balls. Maybe practice with fucking hose on top of guys. I don't know. But like you can't be affected by the rain. You're professional athletes. Like come on. Like, is it the first time it ever rained in the history of life? Like they're surprised by rain. Like, okay, if it was raining lava, then yeah, I understand. Like playing in raining lava would suck, but it's water. Wind sucks. So it's water. What are we doing? Okay, I'm just trying to. For the record, is Thursday. Maybe we could stop hashing and trashing the team and look forward to Sunday's ass whooping. Okay, RTW, I'm sorry. We will just move on to next week. I didn't have a podcast. Like I don't have a podcast every day, so am I supposed to just not talk about what just happened? Okay, yay, go Jets. We're gonna beat the Vikings. Like, no, let's shit on them a little bit. Like, I gotta get my anger out. Screw that. No, I'm going to talk shit about it because I am. You start your own channel then. Actually, RTW, I've seen you in here before, so I don't mean to be so much of a dick, but what am I supposed to do? Not talk about like people want me to hear it. That's why they're here. Why is Gibson on the field, period, is the better question. I don't know, because he made one play a year and a half ago. It's probably why,
it was a good return.
Yeah, sure. It was a good return. And then he had fumbles after that. He had a drop in that in this game. Like, what does Gibson offer? And like, and maybe shame on Sabo. I'll say it. He may be buying a little bit with the offseason reports that Gibson's going to be more involved. He's going to be the number 3, all this shit. And he fucking sucks still. What does Gibson do? He doesn't break tackles. I don't think he picks proper lanes. He drops the ball. The guy's 5'8". You wouldn't even notice. You wouldn't even think he's an NFL player walking through the parking lot. Like, he's just a guy. Like, he's such a, like, he's a definition of a jag. I don't get it either, Equal. Again, and he's on the field when Mike Williams, your guy who was a top 5 contested catcher in the league, is on the sideline. Let's run a fade to frickin' Xavier Gibson. What are we doing? Identify more. So this is after the other guy said they identified like a cupcake. He says, I identify more like a salad the way the Jets line gets tossed around. That is an A+ comment, but I love that. In the home opener, Breece chants were second loudest cheers behind Rodgers. Say what you. I think Breece bought into his own hype. I really do. I think he's way too much into his head. He's thinking, oh, I didn't break that 90-yard run yet. Let me get it. Or it's either that or he's injured, right? Like I don't think there's any in between. It's either he's buying into his own hype or a combination that he's injured because he looks worse. This is the worst he's looked in 3 years. And one of those years, he's coming up with
first game after a torn ACL. He had an 81-yard run, and
and his first run was like 25 yards.
Yeah,
0.4 yards per carry. What is he? What are his stats this year, Nani? If you could look that up, what is he averaging? Like 3 yards a carry?
3.1.
Oh my God! Like that is Frank Gore level.
And you're talking about Cook last year.
What did Frank Gore average that 1 year with the Jets? And you're talking about
3.5.
With Andre Roberts, Chad Hansen, David Nelson, all these whoever's on that team, like Frank Gore can do better with Adam Gase. Like, come on, man. At a certain point, I do get it. He's not getting it blocked up well, but there's not an excuse for 0.4 yards per carry and getting less than Frank Gore did in 2019. Come on. Yeah, Keith Carter is brutal, dude. The offensive line just has no idea how to run block. It is abysmal. Let's give this staff 6 losses before we talk about replacing them. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, you have to criticize them though again when they come out like this. If Saleh gets fired midseason, who's a temporary head coach?
Yeah, we talked about this a little bit.
Ulbrich. I would say Ulbrich has the most respected of everybody in the locker room. I think Middleton's overhyped because of one game and a speech that everybody saw on one Jets drive. To be honest, I don't see what he's done. Like, has Ruckert developed so well? Ruckert's been a complete zero this year. And I said in the review,
that's another underrated thing to bring up. That between him and Conklin, the tight end blocking has been brutal.
Yeah, it's they haven't developed. Rucker at this point, like, hey, going to next year, if he continues to do what he's been doing, he's on number 2. He's proven nothing to be a number 2 right now. So I think you in an article that said Bates, the guy who came in, like he only played one block. Well, he only had one block this game, but it was like a good block. So put freaking Bates in over Rucker at this point. Rucker's done nothing. And the one time he had an opportunity to do something on a corner route, he's completely stopped the route and looked for like what are we doing?
Yeah.
A little bit of a sidebar, but how are you feeling about the Cat trade, Dania?
I feel good. I mean, it was mixed emotions at first. Dante was amazing for us last year. I was looking forward to Randall with this supporting cast, but I really feel like it raises the ceiling. I'm just very intrigued by Cat next to Brunson, the spacing that it brings to the whole offense. So we'll see. It's a little bit of a hit to the depth, but I think the ceiling is just limitless now. So I'm excited.
Yeah, I am both hoping for not the best for Knicks fans, but at the same time, I know they're Jets fans, and I know they deserve it. But
I know you're talking about this at the tailgate. Yeah, I agree with you. Like I can't. I'm a Knicks fan, but Knicks fans, they got a lot to say.
Knicks fans are to me the Dolphins fans of basketball. They talk so much shit for not doing anything since I've been alive. So but guess what? They play at MSG, guys. I get it. I get it as a Nets fan. They play at MSG. I know it's the Mecca. I'm sorry for even talking. Blew it. Did somebody talk about? We have not been making excuses for Rodgers this game because he was bad, and I put it out there. Like, yeah, he made a bunch of really good throws, but he also made just as many bad ones, if not double the bad ones. So he wasn't great. Doubt A-Rod is the issue with the offense. Again, he's not the issue with the offense. He was just not good this game. Nobody was good this game. Not one guy on offense was good. Tyrone was bad.
Mike Simpson Williams? Can we leave Mike Williams out of it? Okay.
Mike Williams is the only guy. Oh, sorry. Let me retract that again. Braelon Allen and Mike Williams are the only guys who played well on offense, right? Not Conklin, not Rucker, not any of the offensive linemen.
No linemen.
No. Even Simpson got blown up on that one play for a sack, I believe, right? He got completely tossed out of the way. He didn't block his guy for over a second. Tim's ABT, I can't remember him having any specifically really bad plays. Fashion, who didn't look great, but ABT was okay to my remembrance, but maybe that's it on defense. I'll be honest with you guys too. You watch the replays back, and there's the one play where if the ball was on target and he led the receiver, he got burned for a touchdown there. He's lucky that the ball was underthrown. And I'll show you if I need to, because Reed played fine. I don't think he played amazingly. I'll just be completely
got away with PI on one of those. I felt like I was just waiting for it to come in. So I mean, credit.
Is it this one? I think it's this one.
Yeah.
Now this is NFL Open, guys. It is. If this ball is on target and he's not getting pressured and have to fade back out of the throw, that's a big completion. And I thought it was gonna be a PI too. This is towards my side of the field. So Reed played fine. I don't think he played great. And then you also look at what was the other play? He had a pass breakup on 3rd and 5, I believe it was. What point was that in the game? Let's see. I know I have. Oh yeah, Reed. Oh yeah, right here. This play. Listen, at the end of the day, and I talk about why the technique is so bad here off the line in the actual review, but the ball is thrown poorly right here. Do we love Reed's technique at the top right here? When he's falling on the ground, I again, process versus results. The results were pass breakup, both those plays. I don't think he was playing great, though. I'll be honest. It was an okay game. He got a little bit lucky, though. Just being honest. Okay. Professional certified hater. I've never seen a coach be that so buddy with his players. His team has lost multiple games just from penalties. He's worried about players' feelings in year 4. I'm done with him. Yeah. I'm with you, man. I think Saleh might be a good dude and all that stuff, but he's a nice defensive coordinator at this point. He's not head coach material with how he leads these guys. So Blitz says, I know us Jets fans haven't had a lot to be excited and proud about every year, but we have to stop overhyping the players until they're proven. Yeah. I
mean, I wouldn't blame the fans for the hype around Garrett, Breece, some of these guys. I think it's more on the players to just understand that you, regardless of what you've done or what you might be capable of doing, you have to go out and earn it. And it does feel like to this point, and we're just speculating, and there's time to turn it around. But it does feel like that, some of these guys have kind of, been complacent with the titles they've earned without having the production to justify it yet.
Yeah.
So hopefully they could turn it around, get that production that we know they're capable of. But yeah, you can't blame fans for being excited about what Garrett Wilson showed, what Breece Hall showed, and what we thought they could do in this situation. It's on them to go out and prove that they're worthy of the hype that they got, and rather than just accepting that.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Like, you got to continue to grind. I think they kind of they thought they've arrived when, again, they've arrived as good players. But if you want to be superstars, you got to continue to work. I don't know. Dano says he's tired of Breece and Garrett. Garrett's getting double teamed. It's not every play. It's not even close to every play. And again, I've shown plenty of reps where he's not getting double teamed, where he's not getting open. And Breece undoubtedly has more room to run this year with a better offensive line, and he's not getting it done. It just is what it is. Let's see. Rodgers' fault? No. But from this game, some of it's Rodgers' fault. But the first 3 weeks, Rodgers has been good. Like, Rodgers is what we expected him the first 3 weeks. The first 3 weeks, he looked like a top 10 quarterback. This week, not so much. Matt says Garrett dances around too much. Like, I reviewed him for years now, and this year specifically. Again, he's not eating up enough ground at the line of scrimmage, and he's bowing his routes out way too much. He's not holding his line. He's not making contested catches. It's not been great. So, okay, let's see. Drake London got flagged for doing that in week 1. I'm assuming for the finger guns thing. Again, I've known it for at least 2 or 3 years now, where you cannot mock shooting a gun. It's just what I've known. Okay, let's see. Joe's also cops, so his view on rule breaking is slightly different. Is it though? Like, I'm just not an idiot. Like, it's just a thing where if you're not allowed to do something, don't do it. Like, I don't understand. Now, it's not like a thing. Like, trust me, Dano, because of that, I'm not driving 50 miles per hour on the highway. Like, I'm not following all the rules necessarily. But at the same time, if I'm speeding and I get pulled over, I'm not gonna be like, what the hell? Why am I getting pulled over for speeding? This is stupid. It's like, no, I broke a rule. I expect to be reprimanded for it. Now, if I get, maybe I won't get a ticket, but there's certain benefits. But yeah, like, I don't know, man. Like, whatever. O-line scheme sucks. I wouldn't say it's the scheme. It's just the attention to the detail.
Okay, hold on. I just brought up the Drake London one because I do kind of remember that, but I wanted to see it again. Like, this is a lot more blatant than what.
Did he like load up a shotgun and blow a guy's face off or something? What happened?
Pretty much. He's like pointing in the air. He's like going like this. Like, that's a lot more blatant than like. I don't know. I feel like that one I kind of still don't agree with the rule, but that one's a lot more like, excessive. But Lazard, I don't know, just like, is this even guns? Like, I don't know. I don't know. I kind of defend Lazard for this one, but
like, it's just crazy because like then we have the ball at the 16-yard line there or whatever it was, or 17-yard line, and instead we end up punting because of that. Like, just so many dumb things. Dano says, if Joe ever scrolls this far, or Michael, if you see this first, name the single New York Jets defensive player who's played every snap through 4 games. I'm going to go Tony Adams.
Yeah.
If I had to guess.
Does Chuck Clark come off the field? It's got to be one of them, right?
It's Clark or Adams, I would say, because I know Sauce missed time. I'm sure Reed has.
Cheat and see what it is. Well, I'm not cheating. I put my guess in. I say Clark.
Yeah. I'll say Adams, I guess. What do you think of Sauce so far? I think he's been great. I don't think he's been as good as he's been the first 2 years.
It is
Clark? Okay. Sauce got beat on that third and 10 to Sutton on a dig when Sauce let Sutton get into his blind spot and he couldn't see the break or feel the break because he was in his blind spot. So Sauce has been very, very good. Not great. And there's times, like, it's interesting with Sauce. There's times where he'll put his head down and tackle Saquon Barkley in the backfield, or he made a nice tackle. I forget what the play was. It was to his side. Sauce is on the left. The offense is right. And made a tackle for like a shorter gain. But then there's times where he completely dodges guys. So like, it's just like he's very, very inconsistent with his effort as a tackler. But I think he's been fine. Like, he's been great. He's still been an absolute stud. Has he been number 1 in the league this year? I would probably say not, which is okay. But, coaches don't know how to scheme Garrett open. Again, it's a thing where, like, sure, but you also have to blame him for what he's doing wrong as well. Like, it's not a thing where it's one guy or the other. It's a shit sandwich. It's shit soup. Like, it's a bunch of things. But Garrett individually has not been playing well this year at the same time. Matt, he was to one play. We're talking about,
I think he's talking about Quincy.
Oh, Quincy. Yeah,
He's
I don't
missed
know.
one snap this year.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. Keep rolling through the chat. Joe loves Josina. Dude, I don't know, man. Like I'll regret if I say what I want to say right now, but I don't know how she got her job or what she does. But like, does she just take
the most meaningless reports? Like every time something comes up, it's all these words. And it's just what is the news? It's like she acts like she has some sort of exclusive access. Is just because she's like friends with
But she
Odell
also
Beckham
talks
or
backwards
something.
too.
But
Like she also talks backwards. Like she like I can't even mimic it because of how bad it is. So like I don't know if she takes like 500 milligrams of edibles before she tweets or not, but like it makes no sense. Like talking like Yoda and past tense and present tense and thoughts and feelings. Like I just tell me the facts. The Jets
Yoda
are interested.
Anderson,
The Jets are interested in. The Jets are interested in trading for
forward.
Devante Adams, but instead it'll be like the Jets one day may be interested if the conditions are right on a Saturday, if it's 45 degrees and sunny, but not on a Wednesday. I'm like, what is she saying? I hate her. I hate her. She must get like a mean handy or something. I don't understand how she gets what she gets, but here we are. Okay. By JJ coming back next year, you mean January, right? Yeah, sure. I don't know. Yeah. If we even are playing meaningful games in January. Okay. Yes. Aaron just calls audible, and I think that can we acknowledge also with the Packers that LaFleur was calling the plays and it wasn't Hackett, right? Like he had more, he had at least like better call. Like maybe LaFleur called like a good run play and a good pass play. So Rodgers like, okay, like either one of these works. I'll change to the run play or change to the pass play. But with Hackett, like I don't think he's giving Rodgers everything he needs either. Like there's a difference between him changing plays from LaFleur and changing plays from Hackett, in my opinion. So I think that's something that gets a little bit underlooked in terms of the offense. It's not just Rodgers. It wasn't just Rodgers with LaFleur. So 18 minutes late, Dano. So eat a nice bowl of shit. Let's see. Okay. Screw it. Bring all from Packers. Greg Jennings, Bart Starr. Okay.
I thought you were. I didn't even read the Anderson tweet, so I thought you were kind of joking. But I'm just reading this Devante Adams tweet, and it's like, my understanding as of this morning is that the Jets are currently focused on getting prepared to play the Vikings and leaving for London. Okay.
No shit. Thank you.
Like,
thank you.
Not even necessary. Like,
nope.
Okay, that goes without saying. However, regarding yesterday's news of Devante Adams' reported trade request, there will at least be due diligence and research for current assessments on the Las Vegas receiver, just like some other teams are doing. Again,
no shit.
Totally unnecessary. Obviously, they're going to do due diligence.
Is that it?
Part of the job for NFL clubs to at least consider opportunities to improve as the countdown to the November 5th trade deadline draws near. Like,
what does that mean? So she just said that the Jets are getting ready to play London. No shit. Obviously, it's coming up. That teams are going to look into Devante Adams. No shit. And what was the third point there?
It's part of the job for NFL clubs to at least consider opportunities to improve as the countdown to the trade deadline draws
My
near.
mind is blown.
So teams are going to try to get better.
Thank you. Teams get better. They look to trade? No way. A superstar receiver is out there, and teams are going to look into it. Thank you, Josina. I had no idea. And I'm sure that she might have said that all in like 1,400 words, and it just like I've quote. I wish I could find all the other quote tweets because that one actually made somewhat of sense. There's sometimes I literally read it and I read it 14 times. And I have no idea what she's talking about. So just a brutal reporter. Justine Anderson. Literally every time I see it, I'm like, okay, there might be a nugget of interesting information. I love to take a deep breath and clear my mind before I read her shit. It can't be like a thing where I'm checking it really quickly at dinner. Like I gotta sit down and focus on her tweets. Again, she should chill on the edibles before. It's not even just edibles. It's edibles and like a fifth of whiskey. Like I don't know what's going on with her. Never mind. I'll say that after. So there's some people who chat like here and here, but I'm not going to say who. I'm sure you know if you've been listening to the show long enough who talks like that, and we try to diagnose her the chats. But yeah, it's almost like that. It's almost like that. We identify. You said this before, but we identify as a salad. The amount of our offensive line gets tossed around. Remember that. Ruckert has regressed. I think he's a big reason our shitty run game. I think it's a lot of things, honestly, but Ruckert hasn't done anything. And even last year, again, He whiffs one play, he blows a guy up. He runs into contact with way too much momentum. It's all or nothing with him. What's the bottom line on holding a player accountable? Bench them, then what? I'm perplexed. Yeah, bench them, talk to them, talk it out, say why are you struggling? What are you seeing here? Hold them accountable to meeting rooms. Now it's hard because we're not there for the meeting rooms and stuff, but there's something, when your guys are underperforming, you can't just be like, yeah, we're all good. They know their mistakes. They're full grown men. So, do something. Do something. Okay, let's see. I'm trying to get through all the chats before we get out of here. Answer Chuck Clark. There we go. Andrew Yale, what's up? Nicholas Joseph, I'm a little bit late to the stream. You're a lot bit late. Probably already said, but make Sam see Ghost. Let's blitz the shit of him. Nani, I'm pretty sure you just put an article out and saying do not blitz him. Tell Nick why.
If you saw the numbers on that he has against the blitz, here they are: 18 of 20, 335 yards, 4 touchdowns, no picks. That's Darnold against the blitz. 90% completion, perfect passer rating, 17 yards an attempt. This is not the same Darnold. The system, the weapons he has, whatever it is, the experience he's gained, he's not the same guy from that game.
But has he ever seen a Robert Saleh blitz, though? Has he ever seen a Saleh blitz?
No, that's dreaded. Chuck Clark coming off the edge, screaming off the edge.
Yeah, Michael Clemens on a stunt. He moves, he turns like a fucking boat. That guy. I just... John Nolte says, Joe, your film breakdowns are awesome. I subscribe for that reason. I agree with you on Clemens. Yeah, he's an absolute dud, dude. Please get rid of that guy. I thoughts on Tyron Smith? He sucked. Those are my thoughts. He's not been good. Yoshi says, Nottingham Joe, I appreciate the criticism, especially because Garrett and Breece, that are the same type of guys that bitch and moan when they don't get touches, have cryptic tweets, they want massive paydays now. And even like, didn't Corley just put up something on Twitter like Bart Simpson, like I will not let them shut me down or whatever. Like now he's cryptic tweeting, and like Breece was walking. Like I'm at the game, I'm watching him on the side, like he's walking around with his head down, towel on his head. Garrett's looking all pissed off. Like they got to prove it more than just 2 or 3 years to be these studs. Like I think they bought into themselves too much without wanting to put in like the necessary work. I don't know what it is. It's crazy.
He retweeted some reply to one of your tweets that you deleted. Malachi Corley is salivating. I don't know what you put because it's deleted.
Who said this?
Malachi Corley retweeted a reply to one of your posts that says Malachi Corley is salivating. I don't know what it is though.
This was that. So that was when I deleted it because it was a play where people put up like, oh, the Broncos were blitzing and there was like 2 wide open guys underneath. I'm like, oh, Rodgers will hit those 2 wide open guys underneath. Yeah. And somebody said Malachi Corley is salivating. I didn't see that he quote tweeted or whatever, but
he retweeted it.
Whatever. Mean handy. How would you grade the offensive line? I don't know. Pass blocking B plus, A minus to this point, and run blocking a solid D minus. Right, and this is a good point too, Edward. The last 2 games, Tippmann's snap struggles have re-emerged because there's plenty of times where like Rodgers, the one play I said it in review, he looked like an NBA center trying to swat that shit out of the air to himself to snap it or to get control of it. So Tippmann's snaps have been wild. So let's see. I'm gonna do it too. Let's do this real quick before we end up hopping off. I'm in a second too. I just gifted a membership. I'm gonna try to find. Is there a way to like find all my quote tweets to Josina Anderson? Because I want to read another one. Because there are ones that are so much worse than that. But it's a whole lot of words. Yeah, Josina's a fraud. She's an engagement account at this point. I literally have no idea who this person they're shitting on even is. Okay, yeah, it's just don't go on Twitter and read anything from Josina Anderson because you will have, if you're not mentally stable, it may send you into a seizure. It is brutal. Josina, no shit, Sherlock Anderson. That's great. That's what I said. So M. Lopez, that's exactly what I said. I said, I don't know what I quote tweeted, but it's something like she sounds like a 8th grader who's trying to make up or to get to the total word count on a essay. It's like she just throws in so many unnecessary words. So how come Lazard wasn't fined last year when he had his thumb up his ass? I don't think you get fined for having your thumb up your ass. That's a personal decision. Okay, let's see. I needed the last. Okay. He does turn like a boat. It's just brutal, man. And not like a smaller one. Like you're talking about like a 50-foot yacht. He has no athleticism. putting weight on will be good. It'll be the JFM. JFM is so much more nimble than him. What do you think about Sauce's tackling this year? I think he's extremely volatile. Again, it's like last year. He's one play he'll light up Barkley, and the other play
plays where like he comes off the edge and he just like hugs a guy, just kind of like chest bumps him sometimes. But then he'll come down, on the outside on a screen and blow a guy up. It's just so inconsistent.
Well, is her handle Josina, like Josina Anderson? Is that what it is? I'm trying to look at my tweets to see if I can find anything.
Yeah, it's just her name.
I can't. I'm gonna get it for next week. But there's some times where I quote it. I'm like, what? Like the one you read, it was actually probably one of the more sensible tweets I've ever read from her. Rodgers get hits 14 times. No, not this game. This was not a B+ this game. I would say before this game it was an A, and I think it dropped to a B+ because of this game. This game pass blocking was probably a D+, C-, right? Like definitely wasn't good, that's for sure. Thanks, I really appreciate it. I'm out of work right now. Sam Darnold improvement, Shanahan last year, O'Connell, Josina I'm not gonna do that. Joe B, great to see you. What's up, Rob? Horrible tackler. Okay, so I guess quick thoughts and a score prediction on the Vikings game. I don't know if on Cool Your Jets, did you guys go into the Vikings game? Is that your latest podcast?
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I'll give my score prediction here. I will. So I think the Jets are going to play a lot better than they did against the Broncos, but I can't predict them to win this game because at that point it's like, am I going to predict them to win every week, or am I going to go predict them to lose the Patriots game? I kind of have to predict them to lose this game, but it wouldn't shock me if they won, and I do feel confident thinking they're going to give a much better performance. But this Minnesota team, I know it's better than what we all expected, and it's kind of surprising, but just looking at them on both sides of the ball, I mean, they're a very complete team. I think it's going to be a tough game, but I do think the Jets will play them well. So my score prediction was Vikings 28, Jets 27.
That's just brutal. I don't know, man. I think the Jets play better as well. I think Rodgers, after being criticized like this, is gonna come out and have a really good game. I'm just not confident in them being able to adjust to Flores, and Flores will make better in-game decisions. The Jets are bound to shoot themselves in the foot. I could see them winning this game, but 27-24 Vikings, if I had to put it, the gun on my head. There we go, Dano. You're welcome for the gifted membership. I'm glad I went to you because you're always in here. Sluggo, appreciate you as well. After the Broncos game, what's the ceiling for this roster? I think they could still win 11 games. I do. 24-17, Sammy. Okay, I do have to go though. I have a child upstairs who needs me. I will see you guys next week. Check out Cool Your Jets. Continue to subscribe, watch the videos, leave comments, likes, Twitter, follow us, all that stuff. I'm praying this is a more positive stream next week, but you never know with the Jets. We will see you guys later.